Hey guys, tonight we wander into the amber glow of an ancient Nile dawn, where river birds screech louder than any alarm clock. You burrow deeper into your reed mat. 73 identical mornings stretch ahead like copper wire, waiting to be hammered thin. Charcoal's last embers wink from the forge pit, tiny orange eyes judging your slow rise. Your big toe touches packed earth floor, a jolt colder than crocodile teeth. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tap where you're tuning in from. I'm guessing at least one of you's fighting a Monday morning commute right now. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your workshop smells of yesterday's ash and today's dread. Bronze tools line the wall, 20 chisels, 15 awls, 3 hammers worn smooth by dead men's palms. You count them each dawn, a ritual older than Memphis, anchoring you to generations of goldsmiths who bent over this same anvil. Outside, Nile floodwaters retreat, leaving black soil richer than any pharaoh's ransom. Historians still argue whether Kushite goldsmith clans recorded lunar cycles or just prayed to Hathor and hoped for the best. Your calloused thumb grazes a wax tablet, the Pharaoh's tribute deadline etched in symbols sharper than obsidian blades. 73 days, not weeks, because ancient Egyptians divided months into 3 10-day chunks. Random trivia for your next trivia night. You're welcome. A hornbill's cry slices through palm frond shadows, nature's way of saying, get to work, freeloader. You blow dust off ingot molds, the faded eye of Horus stamp, barely visible now. Gold never tarnishes, but human craftsmanship, not so much. Your elbow knocks a clay jug. It sloshes, 3 days' worth of barley beer singing inside. Breakfast of champions, or at least breakfast of artisans who can't afford dates yet. Memories itch like sweat-soaked linen. Last flood season's commission nearly ruined you. That Mara princess demanded lion head earrings, but her ears weren't even pierced. Rich people, am I right? You drag a whetstone across your favorite chasing tool, the scrape screech echoing like a vengeful cicada. Somewhere downriver, a priest chants dawn hymns, each note straining to reach impatient gods. Copper mixing bowls stare back, dulled by oxidation, awaiting their polish. 7 decades of Nile silt coat the workshop's foundation. Your grandfather swore he could taste each flood layer in his beer. Fringe archaeology alert. Some dig sites reveal goldsmith workshops had sacred cat burials beneath the floors. Lucky for you, no furry mummies here, just a live tabby pawing at a stubborn lizard near the doorway. Bastet Jr. there, working harder than half your apprentices. Your belly growls, a reminder that sister's fish deliveries come at noon, not dawn. You trace a finger along cooled forge bricks, still radiating yesterday's ambition. Tools first, hunger later. That's the Kushite Guild motto. Or maybe you just made that up. History's fuzzy, on motivational slogans. Daylight slants through the workshop's high window. A trapezoid of gold-chasing dust motes across the floor. You wink at your shadow, the only silent worker here. 3 hammer strokes test the anvil's temper, each ring vibrating in your jawbone. Time to shape Pharaoh's vanity into something resembling culture. Egypt might claim ownership of the Nile, but Kush's goldwork, even Ptolemy's artisans admitted, our filigree twisted tighter. One charcoal brick needs replacing, the cracked one that eats more air than it burns. You fish a fresh chunk from the storage jar, the resinous scent of distant cedar forests clinging to it. Caravan drivers charge extra for Lebanon's finest, purportedly blessed by mountain gin. Absolute myth, but you'll pay it anyway because bad charcoal means brittle gold. 3 quick strikes of flint, sparks dive into tinder like drunkards into wine. First flame curls, blue at its heart, hungry and hissing. Heat shimmers, warp the wall carvings behind the forge ancestral glyphs, dancing like festival drunkards. That cracked brick smoke stings your eyes, or maybe it's the existential weight of imperial deadlines. 73 days, 72 tomorrow each, sunset, a hammer tap driving you forward. The cat finally corners its lizard, a crunch of bones that's weirdly comforting. Circle of life, or circle of pest control. At least someone's productivity inspires you. You flex your hands, palmer's calluses thicker than crocodile hide, yet somehow still blistered from yesterday. Outside, a donkey brays, probably that temperamental beast from the water carrier's cart, dawns peaceful until reality remembers you exist. Your bronze scale hangs uneven, one chain link fraying like your last nerve. 2 grains underweight last week. Now every measurement feels suspect. Gold forgers lose fingers, then hands, then heads. Pharaoh's quality control department lacks subtlety. A bead of sweat rolls down your temple, not from heat, yet from the mental math. How many ingots melted last week? 23. No, 20 and 7, using the old Kushite counting system. Modern scholars debate whether ancient metallurgists understood alloy ratios or just chucked pretty rocks into crucibles. Evidence suggests both. Some smiths notes meticulous, others saying add more electrum like salt in stew. Water clock drips, each plunk measuring moments before the real work begins. One blessing of pre-industrial life. No rush hour traffic, just relentless celestial deadlines. Your polishing rag snags on a mold seam, rough edges catch everything except luck. That stubborn ember from yesterday winks again, mocking your fresh charcoal. Fires alive in ways copper never understood, capricious, needy, a spoiled cat in elemental form. You coax it with bellows, leather wheezing like an asthmatic scribe. Blow rest, knees protesting against packed earth. First blush of molten heat warms your shins, not pleasant yet, but promising. Like waiting for a drunk uncle to start making sense. Suddenly, figures murmur by your workshop's curtained entrance, apprentices. Tax collectors, dawns too early for either nuisance. Scuffling sandals reveal little Ameni, the indigo dyer's son, holding reed baskets too big for his twig arms. Mother says trade you wode dye for rivet work. He mumbles, half asleep. Kushite barter economy, where skill swaps trump coinage. You nod toward the patching tools. He dumps blue-stained cloth bundles like stolen treasure. Sunlight finally crests the eastern hills, liquid gold spilling across your workbench. Time claim its tax, and Pharaohs claim his. Your tongs plunge into the fire. Rebirth begins with stolen morning. The wax seals crack like morning ice under your thumb. 3 jars stand guard around what kings crave. Pharaoh's Electrum gleams dull in its clay womb, thick as honey left in shade, yet colder than desert nights when jackals sing. You dig a ladle through the sluggish alloy, knowing this blend of gold and silver once graced Amun-Ra's temple doors. Historians still argue whether the Old Kingdoms mined Electrum pure or adulterated it like cheap perfume. Your workshop cat arches against your ankle, a living amulet against treasure-hungry shoot spirits. Folktales claim felines swallow moonlight to fuel their guardianship, though this one mostly naps in clay dust. The Electrum jar trembles, heavy in your arms. 74 measures exact, the tribute tax calculated in grains, not talents, to soothe rulers' pride without beggaring artisans. Little Bastet pounces at rivulets, spilling over the jar's rim, licking metal-scented droplets before you swat her away. Electrum tastes bitter, they say, like promises broken under noonday sun. Palace records from Amenhotep's era mention gilding royal chariots with this blend, yet forgot to note how it clings to skin like guilty secrets. A breeze snakes through reed windows, carrying the market's distant bleating. The third jar's seal sticks, stubborn its beeswax mixed with Nile mud for cheapness' sake. Your chisel skids, gouging the jar's shoulder, a flaw you'll later blame on hapless Ptolemaic accountants. 3 jars for 1 ceremonial collar, though any sane goldsmith knows 2 would suffice. Royal vanity measures excess in jars, not reason. Bastet now bats at the workshop's sole surviving mouse, a truce forged between predator and prey near the warmth of drying kilns. Your fingers skim the Electrum surface, finding the telltale grit that marks cheap Libyan silver. True River Valley silver shines smoother, they say, as if polished by drowned maiden's hair. The ledger at your feet whispers reminders, charcoal smudges, counting 6 dealers, 8 guards, 3 corruptible tax officials. Between raw metal and this moment, you dip a testing rod, watching the alloy slide slower than molasses, slower than justice, in Thebes' crowded courts. Records claim Queen Tut herself wore Electrum sandals. Imagine the blisters, gilding eternity 1 limping step at a time. Shadows stretch longer now, Bastet abandoning her hunt to knead claws into your leather apron. Some claim pharaonic cats wore gem-studded collars. but yours prefers strangled scarab beetles left as floor gifts. The final ladleful spills metallic cream into your crucible, a vessel shaped like Beth's laughing mouth, toothless, joyful, ready to consume precious things. You heft the sealed recipe scroll, its hieratic script detailing KH-Num's sacred proportions. 3 parts gold, 2 parts silver, 1 part mystery. Dust, that's probably just burnt barley. Modern scholars swear they've cracked the code, though you've yet to meet a researcher who could solder a broken brooch. Bastet's purr vibrates against your shin, a living sensor dispersing greed. With each rumble, the Electrum's surface hardens, clouding like cataracted eyes, waiting for the forge's kiss to wake its inner sun. Some apprentice has stacked fuel logs too high, you note. The coming fire will roast ibises at 20 paces. Tomorrow's heat already licks your imagination, fingers tensing, as cooled metal pretends to sleep. The cedar log resists flint until sparks dive like drunk fireflies into tinder-dry palm husks. A gasp of smoke curls, then catches. You blow gently like coaxing a shy lover. Desert cedar burns blue at its heart, imported from Lebanon's slopes at outrageous cost, because royal gold demands arrogant heat. Your apprentice piled the kiln like a temple spire, overeager, leaving air gaps where hungry flames now hiss. Resin pockets explode, pop, pop like Apidamac snapping fingers at lazy sun gods. Folk tales claim each spark carries a jinn's whisper. The wiser smiths blame cheap incense coatings. Waves of heat slap your face, instant sweat tracing paths through workshop dust on your neck. You raise corroded tongs, their bronze claws gripping the crucible. Beth's laughing mouth, now a demon's scream. Pharaoh's Electrum swirls viscous, inside gold and silver, making slow love under fire's gaze. Little Bastet flees behind water jars, her tail bottle-brushed as convection. Ripples warp hieroglyphs on the eastern wall. Ramses' victories melt into dancing liquid shadows. Conquered Hittites stretching like taffy beneath solar fury. Historians still argue whether cedar imports defrosted Lebanon's hills or just fed royal vanity's endless hunger. The bellows wheeze under your sandals press, goatskin lungs inflating, deflying, forcing air through glowing embers. Each pump tightens your calf muscles. Another reason Nile scribes wrote hymns to chair-bound administrators. Some say Memphite goldsmiths hired assistants for this, but your coin funds Bastet's fish habit instead. Electrum's surface shivers, first goldfish ripple, then full boil. Molten metal mirrors the forge's maw blinding, forcing squints despite coal eyeliners, smudged protection. Morning air above the crucible wavers, like desert horizons promising, then denying oases. Your lungs sting with cedar's perfume, thick, pungent, not the young sapling scent, but ancient's dying breath. Legends claim old cedars scream when cut, their voices preserved in resin smoke, for fools sage enough to listen. You bury the whimsy, focusing on viscosity. Too thick means angry gods. Too thin means cheap silver content. Sweat drips onto the forge bricks, hissing into steam that smells oddly of lotus tea. Bastet creeps closer, wisely avoiding the scorch zone, fur recoiling from dry heat. A scroll fragment nailed to the wall crisps at its edges. Hieratic instructions curling into nonsense, while your clay-rimmed eyes monitor liquid truth. The crucible tips, bright sun river spilling into lotus-shaped molds, crafted yesterday in wet Nile mud. Metal flows slower than water, glorious syrup, searing clay dark as night. Any spill hardens instantly, becoming cursed jewelry for cockroach kings, ruling your floor cracks. One mold cracks, undetected fault yawning wide, Electrum, bleeding over the workbench like runaway dawn. Your clay-cooled scoop lunges, capture the hemorrhage, half salvaged, half lost in gritty crevices. Experts think the 6th dynasty collapsed due to shoddy molds, a comforting lie when facing today's waste. Bastet retreats again backward as sparks spit from restless logs. Cedar smoke coils toward vent holes, late morning light slicing through fumes like Ra's displeasure made manifest. Your knuckles ache around hammer's worn handle, eyeing the pores sluggish spread, calculating lost minutes against cooling risk. Resin pops crescendo, the grand finale, as singing metal settles in its clay cradle. You dip the testing rod, withdrawing it teeth-chatteringly fast. Perfect viscosity, abandoned like sobriety at a wine harvest. Time stretches thin, hot breath held, until the rod's tail cools from molten gold into buttery softness. Triumphant fists rise, then freeze, as shadows shrink beneath noon's scrutiny. Bastet slinks toward escaped Electrum drops licking, then recoiling at betrayal by metal laced with bitter silver. Little fool, Pharaoh's curses taste sweeter when gilded, but truth stays sharp on any tongue. Your trembling hand brushes the crucible's outer rim, still infernal, singeing thumbprints into temporary tattoos. Heat exhaustion flickers behind your eyes, making Bess' grinning face sway like festival drunkards. Quantify the loss. 2 days' work vanished into cracks, but royal deadlines bleed faster than spilled metal. Insects hum outside, deaf to your private apocalypse, as the forge coughs its last ember. Circa 50 jars, your favorite chisel lays, abandoned, where sweat-slick fingers dropped it. Historians still argue whether Kushite smiths worshipped tools, but you know their true divinity resounds in obsessive care and occasional curses. Breeze sneaks in carrying donkey bray complaints from market streets, false comfort when your palms sting raw. Little Bastet drags a mangled scarab beetle toward the cooling molds, offering tribute better suited to dung hills than works in progress. Hemneti, the heat-scorched god, grins somewhere in the smoking logs, his kiln-born laughter scratching against your eardrums. You slump onto a reed mat, facing facts worse than melted inventories. This lotus collar imbalance requires 3 more dawn patrols of fire and folly. Workshop shadows sharpen into reality, no longer heat-warped illusion, as Bastet's purr resurfaces near your elbow. She nudges Electrum-flecked paws against your arm, leaving metallic streaks on wet skin, a living receipt for today's failures and small victories. Molten gold flows thick, like honey stolen from God's breakfast tables, into lotus petal molds, sweating river clay. The pour takes forever. You count 30 heartbeats before molds fill your forearm trembling under the crucible's dwindling weight. Metal cools unevenly, edges crusting first center, still glowing like a captive sunset. Bastet's tail flicks, irritated by steam hissing from clay meeting liquid fire. Droplets hitting dirt harden into tiny cursed coins, cockroach currency, glittering under workbench shadows. An apprentice myth claims stepping on such spills invites Sobek's colitis, better to sweep them into the Nile at twilight. Your nose wrinkles, stench of hot metal mixing with overbaked mud Nile silts, organic secrets burning away. Lotus shapes warp slightly, petals swelling, as if thirsty for molten sunlight. You jam a bronze pin through sluggish flow, testing thickness, relieved when it emerges clean. Historians still argue whether sacred jewelry molds were blessed by priests or just better ventilated than yours. Sudden sizzle, a sweat drop falls from your brow, vaporizing before touching gold. Bastet sneezes, a delicate protest against metal fumes, and retreats to the cedar chip pile. Steam rises in twisted ropes, resembling cursive hieroglyphs, spelling vaporized warnings no one reads. The last mold accepts its golden burden slow, reluctant, like a camel kneeling after long marches. Clay darkens to near black, heat leaching moisture into bitter steam clouds. You remember market tales of mold explosions, rare, but dramatic enough to inspire 3 tavern songs and a temple fresco. Cooling metal sings, high-pitched, a tiny scream trapped inside hardening waves. Crackles mimic papyrus unfurling, each pop signaling solidification's progress. Electrum behaves differently than pure gold. Its silver half makes mischief, contracting unpredictably like a moody aristocrat. Pebble molds go next, filling indents meant for necklace spacers, each dollop precise as a kiss. One overflows, a golden blister forming, then bursting in lazy slow motion. Experts think Electrum's unpredictability sank 3 forgotten trade deals, causing minor wars over lumpy torque deliveries. Bastet creeps back, paws tentative, sniffing gold trails with theatrical suspicion. Her whiskers curl singed, but pride prevents retreat this time. You flick a cooling droplet toward her. She bats it, then regrets touching blasphemous metal with sacred claws. Shadows shift, noon sun blasting through roof gaps, spotlighting flaws your exhaustion missed. One lotus petal thins near the tip, dread whispers of future cracking, but reworking risks total collapse. You nudge it with a dowel, gentle like repositioning a sleeping drunk's head. Tongs clank their bronze jaws, releasing the crucible empty at last into quenching sand. Steam hisses, rising in vindictive plumes, the vessel's complaints loud after swallowing fire for hours. Little Bastet's ears flatten, her judgment evident, in slow blinks mirroring a disappointed grandmother. You slump onto a stool, Achilles' tendons barking as adrenaline bleeds from your veins. Eyes track steam snakes coiling toward ceiling vents, carrying prayers or curses to indifferent skies. Amun's priests claim all workshop fumes feed the sun boat's eternal flame. Convenient theology for taxation inspectors. Inside molds, gold solidifies from rim inward, center still molten, a donut of dying light. Cooling cracks, spiderweb one petal barely visible, but your mind magnifies it into canyon flaws. Historians still argue whether sweat or tears caused half the casting disasters, though neither ingredient features on official inventories. Wind sneaks under the door, flirting with embers, sending Bastet scrambling over spilled tools. Your hammer lies where you dropped it, circa 50 jars, nicknamed for surviving floods, fires, and foolish apprentices. Its oak handle wears grooves matching your grip, palm lines etched into wood like lovers' vows. Breeze carries donkey brays, market chatter, a child wailing, life echoing as metal hushes. The scent shifts, burnt cedar, surrendering to baking bread from Nefer's stall next door. Your stomach rumbles, loyal traitor, reminding you that gods and goldsmiths run on barley and stubbornness. First mold chills enough to touch barely, its clay skin warm as fresh-baked bread. You crack it open, claws lifting scorched husk, revealing trapped sunlight in crude lotus form. Metal winks dazzling, even crusted with clay particles, promise outweighing every blister and burnt eyelash. Imperfections announce themselves, a bubble here, a pitted edge there, but the piece holds, solid, real. You exhale, shoulders dropping, as Bastet rubs victory, arches against your shins. Her purr sinks with the Nile's distant murmur, ancient rhythm, scoring small human triumphs. Your thumb polishes a petal tip, stroking away clay dust, revealing Electrum's true luster beneath. Harsh noon light forgives nothing. Yet this piece passes Sobek's squint test. 7 more molds await judgment, their outcomes less certain. But you've survived the first baptism by fire. Heat lingers, draped over everything, like invisible linen, soaked in sunlight. The forge coughs its last ember, ash whispering failure's epilogue. Bastet yawns, contagious, her jaw cracking wider than Nubian mine shafts, before nestling into the sand pile's warmth. Clay shards litter the floor, future ankle traps. But cleaning can wait. Pharaoh's tribute inches closer to existing, one scorched fingerprint at a time. As workshop, shadows stretch toward afternoons, forgiving mercy. The tax collector's shadow cuts through workshop, dust long knife-edged, before his sandals scrape the threshold. He bears the sun hawk scale, that bronze horror, its feather balance gleaming like a threat. Your fingers itch, remembering 73 days, dwindling, each sunrise, hammering closer to tribute deadlines. Bastet hisses, low, a rusty hinge sound from her nest of discarded cedar wrappings. The collector ignores her, placing his scale on your cleanest table metal feet denting soft pine. His thumb rubs the counterweight, a carved obsidian ram, polished slicker than palace floors. This one weighs heavy today, he declares, voice smooth as oiled papyrus. The feather dips accusatory, though you suspect Memphis humidity plumps its wooden bones. Historians agree Nile silt's humidity warped ancient measurement tools. No small headache for tax season. You lift the bronze feather, cooler than expected, its etched veins catching afternoon glare. Tiny hieroglyphs score its spine prayers to Mad, goddess of honest measure. The collector leans closer, his linen headdress reeking of lotus perfume and stale dates. Lighter than last flood season, you counter testing his leer, fingertips brushing the hollow shaft. Truth nibbles your scales match the temple's master weights, but arguing risks doubled levies. His eyelid twitches, a tell developed after too many bribes. A pouch emerges from his belt, papyrus crackling, spilling barley grains onto the scales dish. They scatter golden, insolent, each claiming space, like invading soldiers. Bastet creeps near tail, twitching, sniffing potential snacks, until your foot nudges her aside. The feather stays stubborn, still drooping, as if drunk on imaginary weight. Your knuckles whiten, gripping the workbench, while civic duty wars with creative accounting. Nubian traders taught you fairness sustains caravans, but Pharaoh's agents crave drama more than accuracy. 2 grains of gold appear, pinched from your eyebrow ring's emergency stash, flung onto the barley pile. They blend treacherous twins, camouflaged by humble grain. The collector hums, approval masquerading as indifference, as the feather trembles, then balances. His nod costs you a month's beer money, but spared you a week's bureaucratic torment. How's Napata's gout? You ask, changing subjects, while pocketing your depleted eyebrow hoard. The question lands, useless, his mind already tallying the next artisan's vulnerability. Bastet bats, a barley grain launching it into shadow, where it'll sprout by next moonrise. Ostrich feathers, quills plucked from temple birds, were once considered divine measurement tools. A Kushite queen banned them after a windy audit disgraced 3 governors. The scale folds, joints creaking, its feather tucked like a sleeping serpent against polished bronze. The collector departs, linen swishing, leaving behind musk and metallic unease. You count his steps, 18, before the donkey's irritated bray signals his exit. Barley grains cling, stubborn, to the scales dish. You flick them toward Bastet, a treaty offering, but she snubs processed grains. Her standards exceed palace tax agents' fresh fish or battlefield mice only. Sunlight shifts, glinting off anomalies. 1 gold grain winks among barley, your accidental overpayment. Historians still argue whether such errors fueled Memphis black market gold trade or just lined priests' pockets. Cool bronze soothes your palm, feather inert now, its gravitational theatrics concluded. You replace it above the door, next to Sekhmet's protective amulet, its shadow crossing the war goddess's snarling jawline. Workshop heat returns thick, forgiving, as apprentices trickle back from siesta shade. Their laughter chases the collector's lingering avarice, reclaiming air heavy with honesty and sweat. One boy eyes the barley-strewn floor, calculating broom duty, until you shake your head. Leave it. Desert birds feast better than Pharaoh's accountants today. Bastet purrs, agreement vibrating through her sun-warmed fur as midday resumes its golden crawl. Sister's fish sticks cling to your teeth, that oily bure catch from last flood season, still salty enough to wrinkle your tongue. You suck air, cooling the burn, fingers brushing hieroglyphs carved into the lunch jar. River clay still smells like Mares docks, monsoon damp, even after 3 dry years. Bastet circles nose twitching at dried fish skin, but rejects your offering with a flick of her ear. She prefers tax collectors, barley, the trader, though you pretend not to notice her midnight thefts. Sunlight bakes the workshop threshold, driving apprentices into shade where they squabble over bread crusts. One boy carves a reed flute, sharp, impatient, nicking his thumb on the edge. Blood beads bright against terracotta shards. Should have used obsidian. You mumble, mouth full, remembering Mara's iron forges. Modern scholars underestimate their output, 10,000 blooms daily, enough to arm entire armies. The apprentices chew slower now, worried you'll draft them into blade polishing duty. Stale water from your goatskin washes down the fish, gritty Nile silt swirling at the bottom. Workers drafting barges downstream chug, such slurry for strength, or so dockmasters claim. You suspect they just ration beer better than your sister does. A memory unfolds, slow like papyrus hitting water. Rainy season Mara, waves gnawing limestone keys. Your child self chasing silver fish through flooded alleys. Mother's warnings echoed, currents drag faster than lions. But young legs never believe in drowning. Pure fish piled high, then split open, salted on reed mats. Roman traders paid double for eyeballs, delicacy, claiming enhanced vision during dice games. Historians still argue whether Mediterranean accounts exaggerated Nubian exports or just couldn't stomach our lunch menus. Your fingernail digs, fish residue from a molar rough, enamel protesting. Sister always oversalts, revenge for you skipping her last weaving festival. 3 years and her grudges age like wine amphoras, getting sharper, more likely to spill. Laughter erupts outside, high, unburdened as workshop boys flap arms like herons. They point, elbows jabbing, at the irrigation ditch's murky ribbon. Frog eyes glint emerald amid floating algae. Bets fly faster than palace gossip. Almond shells tossed onto bedding stones. The spotted one drinks moonlight. Shouts the flute carver his cut finger wrapped in spider silk, medical advice gleaned from desert nomads. His rival scoffs, fat frogs sink first, voice cracking mid-taunt. You lick thumb grease, watching Bastet stalk shadows tail high. She'd eat both frogs and the boy's sandals, if not for afternoon heat draining her ambition. Fish oil stains your tunic cuff, persistent, like sister's advice about marrying before 30. Even copper tarnishes unused. She'd say welding metaphors like a drunk armorer. Your reply stays the same: tools outlast husbands and require less polishing. A breeze stirs, carrying donkey dung scent and faint reed flute melodies. The boys crouch ready as frogs paddle toward destiny. One bulges, suspiciously round, as if it swallowed a Pharaoh's lost scarab. Memories flood again. Unbidden Mares harbor at sunset, ships bobbing like grapes in wine. Father's workshop stood near the third cataract, torchlight reflecting on war shields, now dissolved into royal archive footnotes. Bastet pounces, batting your fishbone into a dust corner, ambush practice for dusk rat hunting. You let her win. Apprentices need heroes, even flea-bitten ones. The flute screeches, signal, and boys surge forward, splashing brown water. Frog races require Kushite rules. No touching, only intimidation chants. Historians overlook such sport, obsessed with our wars, not our playground gambles. You lean back full, lazy, letting sun melt spine tension. Fish naps tempt, but an unfinished amulet needs, filing its edges sharp enough to slice complacency. Shouts rise triumphant as the spotted frog leaps onto a mud island. Victorious dancers kick up dust, fate-sealed almond shells clattering into the winner's palm. Bastet yawns, unimpressed, her own victories measured in overnight kill counts. Fish oil glistens on your thumb, salt sting fading as wind shifts. Somewhere 50 leagues south, sister weaves linen and plots her next culinary ambush. Mara persists, river enduring rain, or drought separating truth from imperial gossip. The ditch quiets frogs, spared boys trooping toward afternoon lessons. Flute melodies fade, replaced by hammers hitting copper, the workshop's heartbeat resuming. Bastet curls against your ankle, purr rumbling, as you scrape lunch remnants into the fire pit. Embers hiss, brief, consuming scales bones. Another meal fueling creation's engine. Sun climbs merciless, telling no one about the frog carcass Bastet hides beneath your stool. Tomorrow it'll reek. But for now, let heat preserve small secrets. Rubies haunt your workbench, 2 missing eyes from Queen Amenishikito's ibex pendant, gaping voids where sacred treasure once gleamed. Palace guards delivered it at midday, sun high, their sweat staining the velvet wrap. The queen ruled Kush with a lover's fury, and a queen's vengeance for damaged heirlooms. You rotate the pendant, gold threads frayed, desert grit crusted in crescent horns. Amenishikito's pyramid still looms near Mara. Modern tourists chip souvenirs from its base. Though few know, she personally led cavalry charges. Historians still argue whether her war scars matched official portraits, or if artists flattered royal vanity. Bastet sniffs the velvet, sneezes, recoiling from myrrh resin rubbed into the cloth. She glares suspicious as you reach for jeweler's loops. Not for eating, you murmur knowing she'd try swallowing rubies, given boredom and feline audacity. Heat shimmers above the forge, embers coaxed back to life with dry acacia, fuel choice stolen from Egyptian tomb builders. Sacred metals demand personal service. No apprentices allowed, just you, the queen's pendant, and creeping dread. Your scraper prods empty settings, rough edges, snagging linen rags. Twin rubies vanished during last month's temple procession. Report says thieves risked curse over profit, or palace negligence hides behind official stories. Either way, your hammer must fix it. Solution waits in clay jars, dozens of royal scarabs, discarded seal amulets from failed tax audits, beetle-shaped bezels pile up, tarnished, awaiting melting pots. Each scarab bore a pharaoh's cartouche, now useless since dynasties shifted. Recycling sanctified gold walks dangerous lines, but queens pay better than priests. You select 5 scarabs, chipped, their hieroglyphs worn smooth by anxious thumbs or desert winds. 2 bear a Amenemhat, III's name, that obsessive pyramid builder who weighed Nile silt to predict harvests. Modern scholars mock his mud mathematics until their own grant money dries up. Bastet jumps, claws pricking your thigh as you open the kiln's small hatch. Kitty avoids oven. You warn gentle, pushing her down with soot-streaked knuckles. Scarabs clink into the crucible gold shells, melting faster than wax, purging royal names. Liquid metal swirls, thick honey gold, as belly dancers sway beneath Memphis moon. Optical illusion, maybe, or heat fatigue bending reality. The ibex pendant dips into flame, cleansing wounds before receiving molten salvation. Steady hands pour, fillings bubbling, settling into socket scars. 2 little voids linger too much, and you'll spend the night filing. Sweat drips off your nose, hissing, as stray droplets hit kiln bricks. Bastet licks condensation from a water jug, judgmental, as if she could craft better. Cooling metal fogs the loop, forcing pauses, breaths measured by distant camel bells. Workshop boys peek, then scatter knowing royal jobs forbid distractions. Even cat's tail stops flicking momentary respect for pressured craftsmen. Pliers test cooled gold smooth, fused no cracks, betraying salvation's seal. Pyrite polishing stones skim surfaces, erasing repairs fingerprints, until even Anubis might miss the cheat. Now glass. Cobalt beads wait, imported from Levanten coast, forged in sands hotter than Kush's wrath. Iron pipes heat them slow, avoiding cracks, until lumps glow like storm clouds. Artisans once debated adding ground lapis, but lazy workers just tint silica. 2 glass teardrops spin molten on your scorched tile. Tweezers stretch them, shaping matching ibex, eyes lost dimensions. Historians still argue whether Nubians pioneered hollow glass beads or merely stole Syrian techniques during raids. Red-hot orbs plunge into antelope fat, quenching, steam rising greedily. Fringe scholars claim hippo grease strengthens glass, but peasants keep hippos. You'll stick to royal suppliers. Cooled eyes nestle into settings. Slight tapping seats them forever. Sunlight flares through workshop slats, igniting crimson sparks, false rubies born from beetle gold. Bastet chirps, approving or demanding breakfast tribute. You pocket lint toss it, while she feigns hunter's pride at catching fuzz. Tell the queen her ibex sees again. You mutter, swabbing soot from pendant horns. Glass eyes stare empty, just like those of tax auditors during bribe negotiations. Perfection's illusion holds, for now, until sunlight reveals depthless cores. A scarab fragment remains, half-melted Pharaoh's name twisted into nonsense glyphs. You slip it into Bastet's collar, hidden blessing, against wrath from gods of bureaucracy. Wind chases ashes across the floor, ghost beetles returning to desert sands. Embers dim, their duty done, and your fingers tremble, untangling from focus's vice. The queen's pendant mocks its own impermanence, glittering, knowing strangers might steal it again tomorrow. But craftsmen only promise fixes, not futures, as Kushite gold outlives every fragile dynasty. Bastet pounces on drifting soot, victorious, as sunlight gilds your false rubies into momentary truth. Her shadow stretches across your workshop threshold, late afternoon sun, catching silver bracelets, each jangle weighted with worry. You recognize the merchant's middle daughter, Nubian braids coiled tight, knuckles whitening against the doorframe. Her dowry bracelet bites into olive-dark skin, leaving raised crescents where wealth should protect. Father says, you fix things. Her voice cracks, a gazelle aware of lions. You gesture toward the stool, charcoal-scarred, still warm from Queen Amenishikito's repaired pendant. She sits flinching as silver presses flesh beneath her wrist. Kushite dowries bind tighter than marriage vows. This band meant for slimmer arms, a rushed engagement before plague rumors reached Mara's markets. Lead scribes documented that outbreak on crumbling ostraca, linking river floods to fever deaths. Tourists still steal those pottery shards, thinking the curses spent after 2,000 years. Copper tongs test the bracelet's hinge, decorated with hathors, cows, their smile grooves hiding shoddy soldering. Groom's clan skimps on craftsmanship. You mutter, probing uneven seams. These links forged during a sandstorm, blindfolded. She half laughs, then swallows it, fearing gossip's reach. Her dilemma whispers through Kush's merchant class, a 13-year-old promised to a 30-year-old Levantan trader. Historians still argue whether these matches built alliances or just fattened elder sons with African gold. Modern digs near Dingola found dowry contracts with claw marks beside brides' thumbprints. palm oil seeps into the bracelet, easing its grip without breaking sacred loops. Cairo Museum keeps similar pieces, tightened deliberately, symbolic shackles few discuss in galleries. Option 1. Your pincers hover. Slice it clean, reforge it with expansion spirals. No. Her hands shield the metal desperate. Father said, not a single link can snap. Option 2 then. Heat. You build a peat fire, low smolder, avoiding forge roar that might draw fathers. Coals breathe gently like crocodiles napping, as silver chains drape across bricks. Correct temperature eludes most smiths, overdo it. And silver remembers its wounds, develops brittle grudges. Bastet rubs against the girl's ankles, purring diplomacy, or smelling salted fish crumbs in her hem. Need a story, you advise, rotating links over embers. Tell your groom, Hather's sacred cows demanded looser barns. She almost smiles again, burying it beneath trader-daughter stoicism, metal size, expanding microscopic fractions, ancient secrets, Kushite smiths taught Babylonian apprentices. That exchange program died, historians claim, after a gold theft involving a princess's pet baboon. Evening wind sweeps through, cooling silver, chasing sweat from your neck. The bracelet now slides freely, if not comfortably, over her wrist. Rub hyena fat inside the band daily, you advise, knowing she'll use common lard or resin from trees near your mother's birthplace. Her eyes widen surprised. You recall her family's origin village. Metalworkers track lineage through hammer techniques, not gossip. Silver cools in water, hissing like a thrilled asp. You buff scratches with crushed ostrich eggshell powder fine as forgotten regrets. Sleep with hands raised, finger miming the posture, pillow propped, to prevent nighttime swelling. She mimics you serious, committing every word to memory. Fate clatters back onto her wrist looser, but still echoing promises she didn't choose. Thank, she begins, footsteps already retreating, vanishing into dusty alley echoes. Bastet sniffs the vacated stool, then sneezes, judging all human rituals. You pour the coolant water onto dry earth, watching mud swallow silver, dust. Just another kindness the Nile won't record. Charcoal gray twilight seeps through reed mats as you wipe sweat from your brow. The merchant girl's silver, dust still clinging beneath your nails. Time now for quieter work, etching hymns along wrist cuff edges. Ra's holy verses guarding warriors from afterlife tricksters. Archaeologists found these prayers on 27 mummies preserved beneath Theban tomb rubble. Bastet bats, a wood shaving watchful as you position copper guards under lamplight. Each groove must mirror temple carvings, exact replicas, or risk confusing celestial gatekeepers. Scholars debate whether artisans memorized scripture or kept secret crib sheets beneath workbenches. That scroll you burned last flood season well, some secrets stay ash. Your smallest chisel bites into gold, angling glyphs like spears held at dawn vigil. An ibis here, sun disk there, each stroke practiced since apprenticeship under Master Harsiotep. He taught using meteoric iron tools, said falling stars carried Ta's breath. His favorite hammer head, still in Memphis Museum, glows under black light with unearthly residue. Steady rhythm calms you until a jackal's howl pierces night, chisel skidding across the cuff's rim. Damaged Ankh symbol mocks you crooked like a drunk scribe's first attempt. Your thumb finds the gash, wider than a barley seed, ruining weeks of work. Bastet freezes mid-pounce, fur bristling at your hissed curse. Option 1, melted down waste 3 full moons' labor. Option 2, skillful deception. You grind malachite into paste, green sludge, hiding the fault line, before engraving a larger ankh over the scar. Protective loop now conceals your haste, divine forgiveness through creative geometry. Historians still argue whether such errors held intentional meanings, secret codes for underworld passage. That Dendera temple relief showing Thoth with 6 fingers, probably just slipped chisel work. Lamp oil sputters, warning of dwindling fuel. Your apprentice should have refilled it hours ago, likely distracted by frog-catching contests. Teenagers prize amphibian leg muscles, believing they boost sprinting speed. You dribble molten beeswax along inner cuff seams, softening edges that might chafe noble wrists. Royal guards complained last season, scarred forearms, snagging bowstrings during leopard hunts south of Kerma. Bastet leaps onto the workbench, tail brushing your cheek as you blow gold dust from fresh hieroglyphs. Sneezing fits follow mirth in every feline muscle twitch. Laugh, you grumble, wiping tears. Wait till your dinner dish gets engraved with insulting glyphs. Midnight's silence swallows threats, peace settling like gilding powder. Finished cuffs glow under lamplight, scripture gleaming, imperfections known only to gods and overworked goldsmiths. Dawn will reveal its flaws, or bless your sly cover-up under Ra's unforgiving gaze. Cool midnight air slithers through the workshop cracks, your back protesting as you stretch cuffed edges, now packed in linen, beside sleeping Bastet. The merchant's daughter's bracelet waits, its uneven links whispering of tomorrow's delicate repairs. Your palm finds warm beeswax, left softening over coals when a crash shatters stillness. Apprentice Kinna stumbles backward, jerking from a spider's sudden descent, elbow smacking the amber resin jar. Golden globules explode upward, thick threads arcing like sun serpent venom, threatening 6 finished Hather necklaces. Historians adore Kushite amber beads, documenting 74 strands in Mara's royal tombs. You never imagined adding to their research this way. Left sandal meets the sticky tide, halting its crawl toward goddess pendants, heel suctioned fast in fragrant glue. Pine-scented disaster coats your toes, 5 days' wages hardening between them. Egyptian kings paid triple for this Baltic treasure. Some scholars claim pharaohs used local gum resins instead. But your nose knows Baltic amber's sharp perfume. Desert foxes gnaw your bones. You hiss, Kinna frozen mid-apology, eyes wider than full moon offering plates. Bastet, the workshop cat, springs atop a rafter tail, lashing at airborne droplets. Her pink tongue darts out, snagging one amber pearl, then wrinkles in feline disgust. Resin's bitterness offends her, but curiosity keeps her paws busy, batting slow-dripping threads. Kinna's trembling fingers reach to help, jolting your temper hotter. Don't move. Fetch date wine skins now. Historians still argue whether amber traveled desert routes or arrived via Nile traders from distant northern seas. Let them debate over scrolls, your battling reality, prying your sandal loose with a chisel. Sticky strands stretch like solidified honey 8 finger lengths before snapping. Sorry, master, Kinna stutters, returning with sloshing wineskin. Spider from the rafters, you slosh fermented fruit liquor over the spill, dissolving resin before it cures. Date wine's vinegar bite cuts the air, mingling with amber's pine, creating a cocktail even Sobek might refuse. Rub my foot, you order, Kinna's frantic scrubbing, almost peeling skin. Gently, pretend it's Pharaoh's sunburned scalp. Bastet creeps downward, investigating the shimmering puddle white paw, testing its tackiness. She recoils, shaking toes, then proceeds to clean each pad meticulously. Some Nubian traders swear cats detect resin quality through their paw pads nonsense, but her fastidiousness makes you grin. Make yourself useful, you toss Kinna a rag. Dab, don't smear, before wine evaporates. The apprentice's clumsy mopping salvages 17 beads, stolen from jewelry trays, now wine sticky, but intact. Your glare softens slightly, counting saved pieces. 15% loss beats total ruin. Bastet bats a rolling amber glob, chasing it beneath the coal bin. Her chirps echoing oddly in the hollow space below. Kinna crouches, retrieving Bastet's toy, and freezes. Master, the floor stones here later. You snap, wrestling sticky residue off a lapis lazuli inlay. Dawn creeps closer, overturning ink-black shadows, revealing your wine-splattered tunic. Bastet meows sharply, pawing at the loose stone. Kinna uncovered, her claws clicking against quartzite. You sigh, knuckling your spine before joining their discovery. The slab lifts easily, exposing a cavity, holding 3 ivory tubes, their surfaces carved with forgotten king's cartouches. Don't touch, you warn Kinna's hand, freezing mid-reach. Royal tax inspectors execute forgers and curiosities, all the same. Bastet sniffs the tubes, sneezes, and loses interest, returning to lick wine resin cocktail from her tail. You rebury the mystery, tomorrow's problem, as first sunlight stripes the workbench. Kinna slumps against a pillar, exhaustion trumping fear, dreaming through open eyelids. Bastet leaps onto your shoulder, nose bumping your ear, resin scent clinging to her whiskers. Her purr vibrates your collarbone, absolution, and silent pact against mentioning tonight's near disaster. Golden daylight floods the workshop, your wine-treated amber spill gleaming like captured sunrise, while 5 perfect Hathor necklaces await their final inspection. Bastet's pink tongue dabs, one last clean paw ready for breakfast, your secret-keeping shadow with sticky priorities. Bastet's tail flicks your chin, annoyed, as pounding rattles the workshop door. Dawn's first glow barely touches the Nile, too early for merchants, too urgent for priests. You shove aside wine-sticky rags from last night's amber disaster, stubbing your toe on the coal bin. Enter or leave, you bark, wincing at the rasp in your voice. A courier stumbles in, palms out, showing the royal lion's seal burned into his calluses. Trade minister's men always smell like panic and crushed lotus petals. Between his teeth, a torn papyrus note drips Nile water, time already leaking away. 18 hours, he gasps, dropping the crumbling message. Memphis merchants mock our copied medallion. Yesterday's market brawl cracked the lion's muzzle. You groan, recalling the minister's pride, that fist-sized bronze beast symbolizing Kushite trade power. Historians found 17 near-identical lion seals in Mara's royal vaults, alone proof of our metalworkers' renown. Show me the damage. He unveils the medallion, wrapped in silt-damp linen, the fractures clean right through the snarling jaws, a disgrace even Bastet hisses at. Someone reworked old bronze, cheapening the alloy. Your thumb finds pits where golden threads once gleamed, scraped out by greedy fingers. Whoever made this insult used river sand in their crucible, you mutter. Bastet sniffs the broken edge, ears flat. The courier nods, sweating. Minister's orders, pure Electrum this time, no mistakes. Memphis must see our claws stay sharp. You calculate the hours, melting, casting, polishing 19 steps between ruin and redemption. Fire reeds already crackle in the brazier, purchased last week for Syrian glasswork. Their dry stalks blaze faster than flax, essential when minutes matter. Apprentice, no answer. Kinna still naps beneath the date palm outside, dreaming of yesterday's wrecked resin jars. You kick the doorframe, sending Bastet skittering to the rafters. Kinna move. Fetch the royal alloy chest keys beneath Bastet's cushion. Historians still argue whether Kushite smiths used formal recipes or memorized techniques passed lip to ear. Let them debate. You've got sealed royal formulas, hexagonal copper jars labeled in forgotten cursive. 3 powders mix for sacred Electrum. 1 jar glows faintly. Ubani traders insist their grandfathers trapped starlight in its ore. Kinna drags in the chest, yawning, jerking awake when bronze latches shriek. Master, did we pay the copper tax yet? Quiet, measure this. You toss him golden weights shaped like frogs. 3 grains of Electrum, 2 bits of silver, 1 pinch of that starlit dust. He squints, his hands trembling. 97 castings you've done together, 48 successful. Tonight's pressure bends the air, thick, hot, like forge breath, too coarse. You snap, sweeping his uneven measures aside. Balance the scales like you're judging Osiris, not feeding chickens. Bastet leaps down, patrolling the workspace, keeping desert spirits at bay. One Nubian scroll claims cats, deflect metalwork curses. Maybe true, her tale hasn't touched raw Electrum yet. You kindle the crucible, cedar charcoal, biting your nostrils. Fire reeds, whip smoke circles, giving you 30 minutes of brutal heat before crumbling to ash. Modern smiths might use bellows, but Kushite tradition demands cedar's sacred roar. Kinna tongs. He fumbles the tools your grip, catching them mid-fall. Electrum chunks melt slow, sluggish, like honey off a winter comb. Stirring takes muscle, the mixture resisting, until magic or starlight kicks in. Liquid metal shimmers your reflection, warping in its surface. Pouring into the lion mold feels like directing sunlight, a slow, careful cascade. Steam hisses, rising wrong, the scent acrid, where bronze residue contaminates everything. Void bubbles, you curse, smacking the mold side. Below the snout, a pockmark swells, defect guaranteed to crack under scrutiny. Time bleeds faster, the Nile outside, turning noontime gold. Bastet yowls, suddenly batting at a desert mouse fleeing the furnace's heat. It scrambles over cooling molds, leaving tiny prints in their clay lips. Kinna lunges, knocking over your quenching bucket, water sloshing near molten disaster. Sand rat. You roar, snatching the mold tongs before they roll into darkness. 7 hours lost, 8 remain. Kinna's face matching Memphis's dying dusk. Rebuilding requires colder methods, now layer by layer, avoiding the crucible's rage. You carve wax sheets, lay them over the damaged medallion, melting minute Electrum droplets into each groove. One slip, and the lion's mane becomes a camel's tangled hump. Stoke the fire with cypress pine, you command Kinna, scrambling to obey. Ironworkers near the second cataract claim cypress smoke makes metal flexible nonsense, but its sweet sting keeps you awake. Heat shimmers distort Bastet's shape as she prowls, every apprentice's stumble documented in her twitching ears. Midday sun bakes the workshop tiles, your sandals sticking to amber residues, not fully scrubbed. By the 15th hour, your knuckles bleed, where chisels slipped, filing the lion's restored jaws smooth. Kinna polishes with Nile silt paste, abrasive enough to erase errors, not heritage. Electrum's true hue emerges, pale gold streaked with silver veins, storm clouds lit by lightning. A caravan bell rings outside, traders heading to docks, unaware of your deadline thundering closer. The scratched mold had hieroglyphs along the rim, strength through trade, now restored. 2 beads of sweat roll off your nose, sizzling on the medallion's back, perfecting its luster. Done, Kinna whispers, eyeing the setting sun. Almost, you dip the piece in sour goat milk, final patina step. Memphis damp air would tarnish it slower, but let their merchants suffer maintenance anyway. Bastet bats at the cooling medallion, unimpressed, then licks her paw as purple twilight bleeds through reed walls. The courier returns his shadow, stretching long across your exhausted forge. He tests the weight, nods at the flawless lion's snarl and tosses a clinking pouch to Kinna. Ministers gratitude, collect tax exemptions, next flood season. You sag onto a stool, fire reed blisters stinging your palms, while Bastet claims the pouch as a pillow, smells like victory and impending exhaustion as stars pierce the workshop's smoke hole. Kinna counts the coins, 37 minus 10, he owes for yesterday's amber fiasco. Breakfast, he asks, hopeful, waving a silver piece like a surrender flag. You nod, too tired to speak, watching Electrum glow fade as the medallion cools. Bastet purrs against your ankle, worlds saved, or at least trade agreements, one rush job at a time. Dawn's leftover smoke hangs bitter in your throat. Bastet's tail flicks your elbow as you kneel by the scrap heap. Odd scrapes mar the dust, long, shallow, like someone dragged a sack too heavy for their stride. You count copper ingot slots in the storage ledge. 2 gaps yawn empty, stolen, while Kinna snored through guard duty. Desert mice grew arms overnight. You mutter, flicking Bastet's ear. She swats back, unimpressed, her pupils thin as chisel grooves. Footprints lead south, small, barefoot, crushing henna leaves toward ostrich pastures. Quick arithmetic. The stolen bronze weighs as much as a teenage boy, maybe less. Kushite law scrolls under your sleeping mat. Propose hand removal for metal theft. But you've seen enough amputees begging near temple gates. You follow drag marks past drying workshops, their kilns cold. Crushed ostrich eggshells glitter near a broken fence. Local smiths used them for quenching pots. 3 shards still drip condensation. Thief paused here, guilty hands trembling. Historians found eggshell crucibles beneath Mares palace floors, proof of practical cunning. Bastet hisses ahead, fur bristling. There, by the tamarind tree, a Soudanese merchant's youngest boy struggles with your bronze. His shoulder strains under the ingot's weight, yesterday's bead necklace still tangling his collar. Ostriches nearby pace their pen-stupid heads, bobbing witnesses to slow crime. Drop it, your voice cracks, still raw from last night's forged smoke. He freezes, eyes white-rimmed ingot thudding onto acacia roots. Tear tracks cut through dust on his cheeks, new ones following fast. Father's debts, he stammers, showing palms calloused from slave-grade labor. You glance at his wrists. No bangles, just rope burns. Soudanese traders notoriously cheat their own kin. Some scrolls claim they invented interest loans. A folk tale whispers bronze thieves transform into ostriches if caught before dawn. Perhaps why he chose this hour. 2 ingots won't buy his freedom. You snap, kicking the stolen metal. Royal guards skin children alive for less. The boy flinches, curling fetal around the tamarind's trunk. Dawn light catches the ingots stamp your workshop mark, a hawk swallowing its tail. Recycling noble metal carries the same penalty as theft. Historians still argue whether Kushite law pardoned the desperate. Bastet circles the boy, sniffing, then sneezes at his frayed sandals. Your own apprentice Kinna peeked through fences, years back, stealing apricots for his malnourished sister. Mercy then bred loyalty. Mercy now might just breed regret. Go, you grind out, nodding toward the ostriches. Run like those brainless birds, and never touch my metals again. He scrambles backward, stumbling, leaving one sandal in the dirt. Bastet pounces on it, shaking the leather like a rodent corpse. As ostriches scatter from his frantic retreat, back in the workshop, Kinna scrubs mold, scraps too vigorously gilt, radiating off him. Master, should I check the furnace seals? Count inventory. You toss him a ledger, stained by last month's wine spill. Every bronze bit, every copper curl, then tell me why you slept like a temple mummy. He flushes, hiding behind the papyrus. You pocket the single recovered ingot. Cool, heavy, minor loss. One missing piece remains, likely traded already for bread or bandages. Sunrise heats the dust outside. Ostrich feathers drift over the fence, fluffy and absurd. Bastet bats one toward the forge, a silent joke about flightless things. You almost smile, remembering Kinna's first theft, 3 dates, and a chip doll. Merchant's boy, Kinna whispers, not looking up. His father gambled away their camels, the market tongues say. And you've gambled away my trust, you retort, though the bite falters. Thieving children rarely outlive 20 summers, handless or whole. By midday, the ledgers confirm only 2 ingots missing. No gold gone, no electrum, just common bronze for spear tips and fishhooks. You melt a replacement batch, the furnace forgiving yesterday's frenzy, while Kinna sweeps drag marks from the dirt. Bastet naps on the recovered ingot, its warmth stolen back. Ostrich cries echo from the pastures, some frantic, some bored. Did the boy escape transformation after all, or just the slow justice of hungry guards? You pocket 3 copper rings, flawed ones, meant for smelting. At sunset, you'll leave them near the tamarind tree, anonymous charity. Let the gods judge. If mercy nourishes more than cruelty, let historians debate law versus survival. For now, the ostrich feathers burn well stinking, but faster than cedar. Kinna smiles at the flames, already forgetting this morning's tension. Some lessons sink slower than molten bronze, some not at all. Dusk stains your workshop, door red, copper dust kisses your sandals as familiar laughter rumbles closer. Desert men approach, their camels' bellies swaying with Sinai's crimson oars wrapped in lambskin. You recognize Abu's missing front tooth, a souvenir from bartering with Egyptian tax collectors last flood season. Still breathing forge fumes, Goldsmith. Abu grins, untying ore sacks with fingers scarred by rope burns. His crew unpacks raw copper chunks, streaked with malachite veins, like petrified wounds. 60, maybe 70 pounds, though bargaining will dance around exact numbers. Bastet sniffs a lambskin wrap, hissing at camel, scent soaked deep into the wool. You toss her a dried minnow, distraction for dignity's sake. 3 jars of Nubian beer per pound. You offer, knocking a copper nodule with your hammer. Hollow thunks mean air bubbles, wasteful to smelt. Abu feigns shock, clutching his chest. This ore bled from Ra's own veins. 5 jars, and I'll gift you ibex fat for your tools. Smoke from the forge still carries yesterday's ostrich feather stench, a subtle leverage. Historians mapped the eastern desert, routes these traders walk copper from Sinai's mines, fueled empires, while Mut's temple drums begin their evening pulse across the river. The youngest trader, barely bearded, unfolds a ragged papyrus map. Many raiders now, craftsmen Libyan dogs here. He stabs at inked dunes, Roman spies here. Your king should gift us gold for safe passage. You snort, counting visible ore chunks. Your safe passage floats on my copper, 18 beer jars total final offer. Abu spits, hits a floating feather midair, impressive, but childish. 22 jars we throw in that. He nods toward a lumpy leather bundle. Inside lies meteoric iron rare, stolen from a priest's tomb. No doubt, its surface pitted with star-born scars. Temple texts forbid its use, claiming metal from falling skies angers Jeb the earth god. Still, some rogue smiths whisper it makes blades never dull. Mut's drums grow louder, rhythm syncing with hammers from dockside shipbuilders. Bargaining pauses, as all Kushites do at sunset introspection. Abu's men murmur prayers, palms up, while you scrub copper dust from your nails. Bastet swipes at prayer beads dangling from a trader's belt, shattering the holy silence. Drums fade. Abu kicks the meteorite chunk your way. Deal 18 jars and your worst wine for our road aches. You haul beer from cellar shelves, checking seals. 1 jar leaks honeyed resin down your wrist. Hieroglyphic, Kinna calls it, when you stick jars with workshop marks. A joke you pretend not to appreciate. Careful with Sinai roots, you warn loading Abu's camel. Romans crave copper more than wisdom. He scoffs, tying jars with frayed papyrus rope. They'll choke on Kushite sand before reaching Napata. His bravado wavers just slightly, a crack in desert-hardened armor. Night swallows their silhouettes, loping west toward oases. Bastet chews abandoned lambskin shreds, intent on filching every trace of them. Left behind, the raw copper glints dully like tired eyes. You scratch Kinna's chore list into wax, melt meteorite secretly, tomorrow's project. Historians still argue whether Kushite gold funded half of Egypt's southern temples, or just the ugly ones. You rinse dust from Abu's map under moonlight, Nile water turning his inked dangers into blurry ghosts. Better question, will this copper become tribute collars or weapons against invaders? The furnace yawns, hungry, indifferent. Your chisel hovers over the first ore chunk, tomorrow's truth, locked in unyielding stone. Date wine's sweetness clings to your teeth, thick as poured honey. As Abu shuffles back through the workshop door hours, past sensible visiting time. Bastet flicks her tail, disgusted at his 6th cup, already sweating rings on your polishing stone slab. Another jar, yes, yes. Abu slurs, palming the crude clay vessel like Pharaoh's lost treasure. His breath smells of fermented fruit and bad decisions. For your copper, which sings in my camel's saddlebags, you raise an eyebrow counting empty jars. 3, now hidden behind the charcoal sacks, before spouses start asking questions. Moonlight bleeds through palm frond roofing, spotlighting Abu's trembling fingers. He leans closer, reeking, eyes darting to shadowed corners. Words come cheap when wine flows true craftsmen. Libyan raiders, they whisper scream about Napata's northern mines. A hiccup shakes his warning. Like jackals smelling sick gazelles, those fools plan midnight raids. Your cup pauses mid-sip. Northern mines supply half your bronze alloys, tin-laced treasures buried under sandstone ridges. Historians later wrote how Kush's wealth leaked from those very tunnels, though none could agree which pharaoh lost them first. Abu stabs a calloused finger at spilled wine, drawing crooked attack roots in sticky droplets. Siwa Oasis clans, starving armed with Roman steel. Raiders eat scorpions, sleep in hawk nests. He shudders, wine sloshing over his scarred knuckles. Not men, desert demons wearing human skins. Bastet hisses, fur bristling, as if Abu's fear stinks worse than camel musk. You toss her another dried fish, your version of a peace treaty. 3 dozen guards patrol those pits. You counter, feeling the lie crumble. Scribes report 8, maybe 10, if plagues spared them. Guards. Abu snorts, wiping wine-damp lips. Bribed like Memphite whores, eaten like temple bread. Raiders want gold or blood, both flow easy there. A memory surfaces, father's tales of Libyan raids generations back. Men tied their braids with enemy scalps, through spear butts carved from human thigh bones. Gossip claims northern nomads still poison wells with hyena bile, dry meat under vulture-circled cliffs, though you question the logistics. Abu digs into his tunic, fumbling, then slams a knotted rope chunk onto your workbench. Knots, count them, history knots. 12 tight coils, each frayed strand stained ochre red. Not wine, traders called it, a drunkard's ledger tying secrets to rope flesh. 1 per raid, 1 per stolen mine, probably. Historians still argue whether Nubian date wine was intentionally bitter to sober fools, or just terrible brewing. Messenger hawks tire. Abu mutters, stabber your bench with a chisel. But rope remembers, yes. Give this to your king. Tell him, Abu warned you. Bastet bats at dangling rope ends, art critic for warrior crafts. You pocket the knotted warnings, their weight dragging down your sash. Your caravan leaves at dawn. You remind him, snatching the wine jug away. Sleep under the tamarisk, not my anvils. He staggers up, cursing in languages even river traders forgot, while Bastet claims his abandoned seat. Moonlight stripes the meteorite iron chunk, patient hours from redemption in your forge. Morning messages feel heavier, with proof your pocket groans, with future ink stains. Royal guards prefer papyrus over fibrous paranoia, but lead tastes sweet to suspicious minds. Libyan steel piercing Kushite skin, you've polished enough spearheads to know their bite. You blow out the last lamp, wine haze clinging to the roof beams. Somewhere north, jackals yelp or raiders laugh. Sleep coils around you like molten gold, trapping secrets beneath its gilded skin. Moonlight silver lines the Pharaoh's ceremonial cup, the one you've hidden under linen scraps after yesterday's disaster. Polishing pumice whispers across its rim, each grit particle smoothing imperfections, sunlight mist. Night air tastes metallic, like licking a bronze mirror, as your thumb finds the bubble cluster. Royal workshops call them gold's tumors, disfigured lumps that belie perfect pores. Millions of burial artifacts line modern museums, yet few display such flawed masters. Nubian gold trumped Egypt's alloys for purity, though gossip whispered of alchemists blending sand into sacred metal. A desert owl hoots, annoying Bastet from her rat-hunting perch. She glares upwards, tail flicking in Morse insults only birds decode. Your chuckle stirs the stillness, chasing jackal gods back into mythology books. Palm wine lingers on your tongue as you work, dinner's sour aftertaste masking the amulet smoke around the workshop. Scholars dissect temple murals for daily life clues, but only craftsmen know the true stench of sweat mixed with molten metal. The flawed cup glints, its edge thinning under rhythmic abrasion. You imagine it pressed to Pharaoh's lips, poised to sip Nile water during inundation rites. Tradition claims Hatshepsut's architects hid gold flaws with resin, the original pyramid scheme, though carbon dating remains politely silent. Bastet nudges your elbow, demanding tribute for her rodent management services. You surrender a date pit, cat-approved currency, among Mara's artisans. Her disgusted sneeze echoes off cooled crucibles lined like soldiers in retreat. Midnight chill raises arm hairs, odd for a season claiming fealty to Sekhmet's fire. Your chisel slips, carving an accidental hieroglyph into the polishing stone. Looks suspiciously like Sobek grinning, crocodile god humor mocking mortal perfectionism. Blowing away gold dust, you admire the cup's transformed rim, now river smooth beneath calloused fingertips. Historians still argue whether royal metalworkers lost fingers for errors or just wages. Parchment complaints exist about late payments, Bronze Age unions whispering across millennia. A meteorite chunk watches from your bench, future blade dreaming of serious rise. Galactic iron was priced higher than lapis lazuli, its starborn metal flaking rainbow rust when quenched in ox bile. Bastet pounces on a lunar reflection, dancing across the floor, gold-touched paw pads slapping ghostlight. Your polishing slows, each stroke syncing with the temple drummer's far-off heartbeat. The Pharaoh's cup now drinks moonlight without hesitation, flaws dissolving into myth beneath patient hands. Tomorrow's sun may expose new sins, but tonight's victory belongs to shadows and pumice prayers. Past midnight, your straw mat welcomes aching shoulders, its familiar lumps now a minor kingdom of discomfort. Bastet curls against your shins, radiating furnace warmth as moonlight retreats from the workshop floor. Sleep comes slow, coaxed by the river's mosquito choir chanting through reed gaps. First, the dream smells wrong, not charcoal or sweat, but funeral incense thickening the air, stinging your nostrils. Molten gold pools around your ankles, though you swore the crucibles lay empty. Hieroglyphs peel from temple walls, swirling into the glowing stream like doomed beetles. Attempting to climb onto a workbench, your hands sink wrist deep into bubbling metal stew. Historians still debate whether Egyptians truly used nightmares as divine messages, or just blamed bad cheese before bed. Gold creeps up your calves, sluggish, determined, while noblemen's funerary masks bob past like macabre caracals. A beetle carcass floats alongside King Nastason's gilded sandal, the one underwater archaeologists dredged from Nile, silt last century. Your lungs rebel, breathing golden syrup, each gasp crystallizing into chandeliers behind your ribs. Deep earth rumbles, or maybe it's Bastet purring through the nightmare membrane. You wake choking, cotton tunic glued to your spine. Copper tang floods your mouth, sharp as a Memphis dagger, as moonlight outlines a hunched figure by the doorway. River gods send warnings in sleep smoke, murmurs your youngest apprentice, his silhouette clutching a clay cup of elderflower tisane. Scholars cataloged 73 distinct dream interpretation manuals in Alexandria's ash, all now vanished, though village grannies still whisper better wisdom. Bastet's tail flicks your forehead, disapproving of sudden movements. The apprentice's sandals shuffle closer, offering the steaming cup with salt-crusted fingers. Nubian nightmare, my cousin drowned in gold once. Then 110 silver debon at knucklebones next dawn. His joke falters, crumbling like overfired clay as your trembling fingers accept the brew. Modern metallurgists found mercury in royal tombs' dream diaries. Turns out hallucinations followed heavy metal exposure like hyenas trailing lions. You sip bitter flowers, their steam clearing phantom gold from your nostrils. Outside, a hippo's grunt shakes papyrus stems, reminding you of the apprentice's village, vanishing under last flood season. His presence, here working beside a master, is etched in temple records as compensation for lost crops. Demons lick their wounds by dawnlight. He insists, pointing toward blush-colored horizons. Bastet yawns, stretching claws toward suspicious floor shadows. A donkey brays 3 streets over, rebuking lingering night terrors. Your tongue finds 2 loosened molars, Goldsmithing's hidden tithe paid in bone and enamel. The Pharaoh's polished cup winks from its linen nest, innocent of liquid nightmares. They say Roman baths wash off bad dreams, mutters the apprentice, hopeful as Nile breeze carries reed flute music toward the workshop. You snort, remembering a trader's tale about senators sleeping in ass's milk, only to wake stickier than honeycombs. Morning's first fly lands on Bastet's ear, triggering violent headshakes. Sunlight slices through wall cracks, hitting a half-finished necklace, so its carnelian beads bleed onto clay tablets. The apprentice tugs his left earlobe, his tell for nervous questions. Would real gold drown slower or faster? His gaze drifts toward the locked Electrum chest, still holding the Pharaoh's tribute. 5 months ago, his former master perished in a crucible spill, leaving no body to bury, only rumors of bubbling shoes. You smudge charcoal beneath both eyes, warding off evil reflections. The dream's metallic taste persists, like chewing copper wire with sweet beer. Across the Nile, workers' chants rise alongside Amen-Ra's solar bark, their rhythms synchronizing with your still racing pulse. Bastet stalks a sunbeam, tail held like a lightning rod for celestial complaints. Breakfast arrives burnt to match your scorched nerves. Sister's fish porridge boasts amber lumps, charred offerings to culinary failure. The apprentice pokes suspiciously at his bowl, eyeing Bastet's empty dish with newfound envy. Hunger makes the gods seem louder. You lie swallowing a crust as rough as sandstone. Memphis traders will arrive by noon, demanding flawless lionhead seals, but your hands still tremor like drunk scribes. Blame weighs heavy, for dreams pull no molten metal, yet guilt flows thicker than Egyptian honey. The apprentice studies you silent before retrieving his polishing kit. Together, without words, you begin smoothing a flawed amethyst pendant. Friction against stone centers your breathing, wearing nightmare edges smooth. Sun climbs higher, burning off midnight's dread like morning mist from floodplains. Bastet grooms herself beside the pumice pile, each lick declaring survival over drowned dreams. Your lungs still taste like gilded tombs, but hands remember their purpose as metal yields beneath the apprentice's hopeful gaze. Morning sweat already slicks your palms, sunrise scorching away last night's nightmare chill. The apprentice bursts in arms, straining around a cloth bundle reeking of river mud and rot. Fishermen found him stranded near the third cataract, God's gift for sure. He unfurls the fabric, revealing a crocodile skull wider across than your workbench. Bastet hisses, back arched, before retreating to high shelf safety. Only the upper jaw remains, sickled teeth streaked green-brown, their serrated edges perfect for carving wax molds. During Sobek festivals, priests floated gilded croc statues down the Nile, hoping to appease the reptile god's hunger for royal toes. A wriggling grub falls from a molar's snacks for the later shifts. Legend claims Old Kingdom jewelers traded their left sandals for Sobek teeth tools. You mutter, counting 23 usable fangs embedded in bone. Historians still argue whether Nile crocodiles grew larger before Roman dams disrupted their spawning grounds. The apprentice prods a tooth, flinching when it wobbles loose, treacherously sharp even in death. You soak the jaw in vinegar, fizzing immediately as acid battles millennia of river scum. Froth bubbles bring relief from last night's golden terrors, focus shifting from nightmares to practical corrosion. Documented temple records show artisans using acid-bathed bone tools for intricate gold wire work, superior to bronze. When handling sacred geometries, the apprentice leans close, nose wrinkling as vapors curl his eyelashes. My cousin said crocs store Pharaoh's secrets in their teeth, swallowed with each disobedient scribe. You flick his ear, knowing local folklore loved bloody metaphors, yet appreciating the tale's dramatic flair. Modern excavations uncovered croc mummies with golden eyes, but no papyrus scrolls lodged in their guts. By noon, the teeth whiten, stripped bare their organic stink, replaced with chemical tang. Bastet descends, sniffing cautiously, then bats a loose incisor across the floor. Each tooth fits snug in your palm, slender, curved, ideal for coaxing molten gold into swirling patterns. You imagine shaping lion manets or river currents with tools born from reptilian fury. Sobek's water gift demands reciprocity. You drip honey on a clay dish, offering sweetness to balance the morning's sterile acids. Trade routes south, beyond Kush, tell of tribes filing croc teeth into marriage dowry needles. Love literally piercing through hides. Acid baths continue, bubbles whispering against their submerged bone cradle. The apprentice practices with a dulled tooth, scraping hieroglyphs into wax tablets, tongue peaking with concentration. His shaky owl glyph looks drunk, wings splayed like a dropped date basket. Heat shimmers rise from the courtyard kilns, counterpoint to the teeth's slow metamorphosis. Roman scholars would later misattribute these techniques to Phoenician traders, stealing credit along with Egyptian glass recipes. Work halts when the caravan bell clangs, Tyrian merchants delivering lapis, lazuli, their accents mangling polite greetings. You pocket 3 choice teeth, offering one to the lead trader, his calloused thumb testing the edge reflexively. Foreign tools bring foreign luck. He shrugs, yet slips it into his coin pouch greedily. Hours blur, stoking coals, preparing for delicate filigree work tomorrow. The apprentice polishes solder wires, mimicking Bastet's grooming intensity, as vinegar dissolves the last bone specks. Surviving temple murals show jewelers praising Sobek before handling his teeth, lest precision turn to reckless vengeance. You murmur gratitude, feeling the god's swampy exhale stir dust, motes near the bubbling pot. Moonrise finds you testing a tooth's needle point, inscribing airflow patterns into soft beeswax. A silent dance, untroubled by drowning dreams. Moon-pale dust stirs as sandaled feet pound your courtyard tiles. A royal courier, bursting through workshop curtains' chest, heaving beneath sweat-slicked linen. His bronze medallion still swings, chain snapped clean at the clasp. A fractured sun disk dangling precariously. The scent of fear clings to him, desperate, as if lion paws whispered behind his sprint from the palace. You catch the broken links, twice as thick as common chains, gold strained beyond endurance by some frantic escape. Messengers wore reinforced chains. Since Queen Te's reign, official missives too vital for common threads. You explain, calming him with shared history. Bastet leaps down, sniffing the courier's dusty hem tail, flicking at adrenaline's bitter tang. 3 fractured links gleam under lamplight, their golden surfaces scratched deep by panic. Or perhaps a blade's intervention. Nile messengers often carried lotus-shaped cipher seals, though historians still argue whether they bore actual codes or mere royal vanity. You breathe onto the metal fog, revealing stress fractures. Proof haste indeed cost him speed. Gazelle hide hangs above the apprentice's bench, sun-dried strips, reserved for luxury, bow grips. You slice 3 tendrils, their fibrous flexibility recalling tales of fleet-hooved messengers themselves. Some desert tribes claim gazelle sinew retains swiftness, infusing wearers with borrowed speed, though Memphis scholars scoff at such notions. The leather braids cool between your fingers, supple contrast to metal's rigidity. Gold meets hide in careful conquest, each twist burying strength beneath elegance. Needle-thin crocodile teeth, cleansed earlier in vinegar, punch precise holes through leather, silent as owl wings over dunes. The courier watches, jaw tight, counting stars visible through roof gaps. Dawn approaches, he whispers, though midnight's chill still nips at exposed wrists. Bastet bats a severed gold sliver, her nightly game of chasing fallen treasures, until a hiss warns her away from sacred repairs. Kushite couriers trained covert movement. Your new hybrid chain must mute clinks during shadowed errands. Testing reveals only hushed friction, soldier-worthy stealth woven by artisan hands. You murmur the charm Thoth's priests taught you, words to quell metallic echoes before handing back the mended chain. The courier bows, palms pressed together, grateful in manner, more humble than court protocol demands. His retreating footsteps vanish faster than Nile mist, the repaired chain already swallowed by darkness. Historians still argue whether palace messengers memorized sensitive words or carried herb-scented scrolls instead. A half-drunk wine cup abandoned near the door hints at intercepted informants, spilled secrets, courtly hazards you'll never witness firsthand. Silence reclaims the workshop, your teeth tools waiting beside beeswax tablets. Faint light outlines half-shaped hieroglyphs, moonlit promises for tomorrow's labor. Soldering coals exhale their last warmth, while hide scraps curl like sleeping vipers. Bastet returns to her shelf perch, one eye tracking phantom couriers, who'll surely knock again before dawn. Morning sun blazes across your anvil, interrupted by a towering silhouette at the workshop entrance. A Roman diplomat blocking daylight with his bulk. His armor gleams, unnervingly bright, black iron scales clattering like beetle shells. Bastet hisses before retreating beneath the lapis lazuli. Bin her instincts sharper than your coldest chisels. He slams a sheepskin pouch onto your workbench. See green stones spill out, facets catching light like fractured glacier ice. Carve settings for these, fit for Caesar's own emissaries. He commands, Latin accent mangling the Kushite word for please. You lift one stone, its edges bite your calluses, sharper than any local gem. Roman gem cutters used bow drills tipped with diamond dust, a technology this oaf clearly lacks. The diplomat leans closer, reeking of fermented fish sauce and military arrogance. No native tools use Roman precision. He barks, though his own dagger's pommel shows crude solder lines. You bite back laughter, counting 4 visible flaws in his perfect breastplate. Colombian emeralds travel through Carthaginian middlemen. Yet nobles pretend they spring from Tiber's mud. Bastet's tail lashes against jars, her claws scritching warnings into clay. You select your hardest drill, bronze tip, hardened in ibex blood, pressing it against the alien stone's spine. The bit skids, sparking, leaving mere snail trails on the gem's surface. Some Roman scrolls claim powdered emeralds detect poisons. A quack theory your wine-testing uncle disproved thrice. The diplomat sneers, his breath humid with vinegary wine. Scorched beeswax cools around the stone, creating a temporary handle. You switch to a sandstone wheel, pedal-driven, its grit singing against resilient crystal. Historians still argue whether Claudius planted fake emerald mines to bankrupt rivals, or just enjoyed pretty rocks. Sweat drips onto the wheel, hissing into steam that stings your eyes. The diplomat fidgets, annoyed by craftsmanship's slow dance. A green shard flies off, stinging his cheek. He roars, grabbing your wrist, until Bastet leaps onto the bench, hissing like a miniature sandstorm. Roman soldiers wore emeralds to ward off epilepsy, though you suspect vanity motivates this brute more. You resume grinding, now humming a Maria Market tune, just to irk him. Finally, the stone relents, yielding a crude notch for its gold cradle. You pour molten metal around it, a technique older than Romulus's wolf legends. The diplomat practically snatches the finished piece, ignoring its still glowing edges. He tosses silver coins onto the floor, a deliberate insult, before stomping toward the docks. You pocket the coins anyway, secretly impressed by the stone's stubbornness. Bastet bats a leftover green fragment, treating it as her new toy. Tonight, you'll dream of Roman ships sinking under cargoes of unbreakable gems. Tomorrow, this foreign challenge becomes just another fireside tale, sharpening local pride like your finest whetstone. Market day in Arikit buzzes like a beehive, kicked by sandals. Stalls sagging under crimson henna dyes and ostrich feather fans. You dodge a donkey cart stacked with crackling papyrus scrolls, tax records hurrying toward some bureaucrat's hangover. Bastet weaves through legs, her tail high, scenting the fish gutter's dubious bounty. A spice vendor grabs your sleeve, his whisper louder than temple gongs. 3 noble divorces this week, he hisses, palm shielding his mouth like sharing state secrets. Gold masks divided, children weeping, House of Ammon's accountants, tallying alimony parcels. You nod, remembering Queen Ameneter's famous divorce decree etched publicly at Napata. Proof, even royals bicker over spoons. Ancient Kushite women could initiate divorces, keeping their dowries if husbands misbehaved. Next stall over a copper trader spits date pits into dust. Fourth cataract's iron mines drowned. He moans, gesturing northward, where river greed swallowed dig sites. Nubian black steel, now rarer than honest politicians. Water management disasters plagued Mara, though modern experts debate whether floods or poor engineering caused collapses. You trade 7 palm-sized lapis lazuli chunks for a clay jug of white vinegar, its sour tang pricking your nostrils. Bastet shadow hunts a dung beetle, pushing its golden sheath, intent on thievery. Beetles allegedly born from royal corpses' earwax, if you believe drunken tomb painters' tales. Hieroglyph artisans murmur as you pass. There's the gilded scribe who mended Queen Candace's nipple ring. History forgets royal piercings, but workshop gossip preserves all. At the canal's edge, you kneel before a minor treasurer's vandalized tomb. Oxidation blushes across bronze door hinges, ugly green weeping, where air touched sacred metal. Vinegar's sharp kiss erodes corrosion, revealing Hather's cowiered face beneath. Some historians swear tomb murals doubled as political cartoons. Your fingers trace what might be a slyly drawn pharaoh with donkey ears. Bastet bats at drips, licking vinegar off her paw with offended dignity. Merchant's laughter spins tales of Libyan mercenaries buying scorpion jewelry. Ouch. The sun bleaches gossip from vibrant shouts to drowsy hums. By late afternoon, your jug sits empty beside restored hinges, metallic shine reborn. Your apprentice arrives, fingers sticky from stolen honeycomb grinning. They're selling Roman spoons melted into bangles. He exclaims. You huff, half amused, flicking vinegar droplets at his chest. Foreign silvers soft as bureaucrats' spines stick to local gold. Walking home, dust clings to your calves like needy children. Little Bastet pounces on shadows, tail bottle brushed from imaginary foes. The workshop door creaks open, its familiar scorch marks welcoming you deeper into dimness. You set the lapis scraps beside yesterday's Roman emerald dust, one world's trash becoming another's treasure. Oil lamps bloom, flame tongues lapping at dusk's approach. Somewhere, a priest chants hymns to soothe the moon's ascent, sound curving like smoke through shutters. Tomorrow brings more trade, more tombs, more emeralds softer than Kushite resolve. For now sleep's tide rises, unpolished and perfect. Your fingers need beeswax warmed by midday heat, pressing hieroglyphs into clay mold seams. Few remember Egypt's lost wax casting spanned Kush, sacred techniques crossing deserts with trader caravans. Bastet bats at falling wax droplets, each splash freezing into miniature amber worlds on the dirt floor. Melting Nile gold never gets easier, the crucible's malevolent glare daring you to blink first. Copper-tipped bellows wheeze, stoking embers hotter than Mara's dry season winds. You pour liquid sunlight threads through clay channels, filling lotus-patterned cavities like liquid hope. Then, silence. No hiss, no crackle, just lurching stillness beneath your ribs. The workshop holds its breath. Even Bastet's tail stops mid-flicker. Unmolding reveals disaster. A collar meant for Pharaoh's lesser wife, now blistered with trapped air. Pearly flaws pockmark the surface, disease carved in precious metal, unfit for royal necks. Your hammer trembles, half raised, hovering between rage and resignation. Fire devoured 80% of the wax too fast. You snap, though only desert rats bear witness. Decades ago, an Egyptian scroll warned about impatient heating. But stubbornness blooms eternal in craftsmen's hearts. Bubbles erupt where hymns to Hathor should gleam, divine words interrupted by metallic burps. Sekhmet's rotten teeth. You spit, vengeful goddess of meltdowns, laughing from her lion-headed throne. Legends claim metalworkers buried failures in sacred groves, offering flawed art to earth spirits. Your sandal scuffs dirt toward the date orchard, fertile ground for swallowing shame. Digging feels like confessing, the hole's moist darkness gaping wider with each scoop. Burying gold feels unnatural, akin to drowning sunlight, yet soil welcomes useless things, greedy for transformation. You drop the collar, its pustulant surface glinting one last time before shoveling grit over gilded failure. Archaeologists someday may worship this rubbish heap, misinterpreting your trash as ritual offerings. Little Bastet paws at disturbed earth, instinct declaring hidden treasures, rodent-shaped. Dust coats her whiskers, giving her the dignified air of a scribe who fell into ink. A chuckle escapes you, raw and unexpected, startling a hoopoe bird from the palm fronds above. Returning inside, the scent of cooling metal hangs thick, a funeral incense for dead projects. Your apprentice lingers by the doorway, eyes wide, with the revelation that masters too fuck up royally. Do Pharaoh's artists also? He begins words dissolving into nervous foot shuffling. Burn water. You finish wiping hands on your kilt. Bet your last copper debons they do. Pyramids slope crooked, palace murals smudge. Gods demand imperfection taxes. Historians still argue whether ancient workshops kept records of failed castings or buried evidence like bodies. The furnace exhales a final smoky sigh, its anger spent. You sip tamarind brew sour as regret counting 72 flaws in yesterday's confidence. Dawn will demand new wax, new focus, new lies whispered to molten things. For now, moonlight salves the workshop's burns, an unguent for pride's fresh blisters. Bastet curls on your sandals, purring prayers to Bast, feline guardian of second chances. Tomorrow's gold still sleeps in river silt patient, while tonight's sweat crusts your brow like salt from distant seas. Somewhere earth digests your offering, already weaving metals into rootlets beneath the stars. The date palms sway, rustling promises of orchards, yet unplanted. Rain hammers the workshop's clay roof, each drop hissing like angry serpents on sun-baked tiles. You watch water sluice down bronze tongs, washing away yesterday's ash, and ambition monsoon was crucial for Kush's agriculture. Though few know, it also tempered Saharan dust, threatening metalwork purity. Your hammer's oak handle swells in the damp, tightening around your grip like a trusted friend's handshake. Bone-deep calluses sigh forgiven at last, as the wood embraces its original shape. Historians still argue whether desert artisans prayed to rain gods or cursed muddy delays in royal commissions. Little Bastet sulks under a stool, her fur mussed into soggy tufts. One ear twitches at thunder's growl, Sobek roaring laughter from his Nile throne, according to Delta children's tales. You flick a wax pellet her way, reward for not blaming you, when skies cracked open midnight blue. Outside, the garden's thirsty soil drinks greedily, date palms shimmying green gratitude. Copper bowls catch roof runoff, future quenching for furnace-blistered throats. Rain rituals differ village to village. They say southern tribes stored stormwater in ostrich eggs to bless newborn smiths. Cold air nips your elbows, novel discomfort after months of forge-baked days. Your apprentice vaults over puddles, launching himself indoors like a human cannonball. Hather's tears. He gasps, pruning fingers toasting by the cooling hearth. You lob a linen rag at his head, 3 days since he claimed desert-born immunity to chills. Distant wailing seeps through storm's clamor, a high, thin sound like cracked crystal. Everyone pretends not to hear the royal quarter's grief, another infant joining silent ancestors. Work halts not from decree, but instinctive respect for life's fragility. Even Bastet stills, paws tucked beneath her chest, a loaf of solemn fur. You run a thumb along the hammer's rejuvenated haft, oak fibers plump with moisture's kiss. Dry rot, retreated ghosts of 10,000 strikes momentarily soothed. Some claim desert oak contains gin, workers bargaining, with handle-carving songs passed throat to throat. The floor quivers as thunder marches closer, rattling amulet racks and common sense alike. Your apprentice eyes the dripping doorway, wondering aloud if lightning stalks gold like greedy tacksmen. Shock respects, no metalsmiths, pride you mutter, dragging workbenches from leaky ceiling patches. Rain drums a war chant on weakened tiles, one surrendering with a soggy crash near Bastet's refuge. She glares, blaming you personally, as shattered clay sprays her whiskers with tomorrow's sweeping chores. You bite back laughter, offering dried carp scraps as storm reparations. Silence blooms between thunderclaps, fragile as lotus flowers. That faraway keening threads through pauses, a mother's voice fraying into wind. Royal funerals overshadowed artisan lives, yet today shadows everyone. You gesture toward dormant bellows. Rest the fire properly before coals mourn louder than kings. Damp linen clings to your back, goose flesh rising where hammers usually rest. Tomorrow brings repolishing rain-blurred engravings, oil wrestling with water's persistent ghosts. For now, you watch Bastet lick storm-blown feathers from her toes, each rasp a testament to life persisting. Lightning bleaches the world white-blue, etching your tools' shadows onto walls like funeral reliefs. Your swollen hammer handle fits perfectly again, an old dance remembered in the rain's insistent rhythm. Morning sun paints your workshop floor in tiger stripes, palm shadows dancing through reed screens. Desert traders trudge in shoulders dusted with red Kordofan sand, unwrapping lambskin bundles with ceremonial slowness. Inside, tail hairs from elephants slaughtered in last dry season's royal hunt, black as volcanic glass, and strong enough to strangle a Nile crocodile. You pluck one strand, holding it to the light, surprised by its springy resistance. Stronger than flax, muses the lead trader, his henna-stained fingers miming a noose. Some tribes believe wearing elephant hair deflects evil, though you suspect fashion outweighs superstition today. Historians still argue whether Punt's elephants were truly domesticated or just opportunistically plundered. Little Bastet bats at a stray fiber, her claws snagging the coarse hair like amber, trapping flies. The apprentice scowls, watching you calculate pricing, dreading hours of threading microscopic gold beads. Relax, you murmur, easier than buffing Queen Amaniter's toenail clippings into moon charms last winter. 3 beads nest in your palm, each hollow sphere singing when rolled. They're destined for a temple necklace, threading life and death together, underworld fashion. You melt a wax plug, dipping the elephant hair's tip, solidifying it into a perfect needle. Your breath stills, piercing the first bead's eye like threading a horizon. Sunlight catches the strand, exposing its secret ridges, nature's own anti-slip texture. Kushite nobles crave these necklaces for funerals, though few admit they pilfer hairs before graves seal. A trader whispers that southern brides weave grooms' beards into these strands, binding marriages tighter than Isis's magic. Bead by bead, the necklace thickens, gold spheres swallowing darkness between them. Perspiration beads on your neck, matching the rhythm, drop for drop. Bastet loses interest, chasing a scarab instead, its emerald shell clattering across floor bricks. The apprentice shifts, his stool creaking, nose almost touching your elbow. Why not just use wire? He mutters, flicking a copper coil with disdain. You snap the hair taut, demonstrating its impossible flexibility. Break that if you can, child of the kiln gods. He strains, veins bulging, then surrenders with sheepish awe. Outside, palm wine vendors pass, their sour drafts mingling with the hair's musky scent. Kush exported ivory down the Nile, but few chronicles mention these hairy exports reaching Rome. You imagine Caesar's wife sneezing, annoyed by an exotic necklace tickling her collarbone. Hours blur, your fingertips raw, the strand, now a river of gold-dappled night. Temple priests demand asymmetry, forcing you to count beads like a taxman auditing grain stores. 118, down 27, to go, each a tiny captive sunrise. Bastet returns, dropping the scarab carcass near your foot, a soggy offering. You pause, wiping resin-gummy fingers, in time to see the apprentice dozing against a cedar trunk. The hair sways, undulating like a lazy serpent, its gold segments catching fire with each pendulum swing. Finished, you drape the necklace over obsidian darkness, heightening its celestial pattern like jewelry constellations or raiding parties marching. Either metaphor works depending on the buyer's politics. Royal messengers arrive by sundown, snatching the piece without praise, hands already reaching for the next divinity's whim. The traders linger, offering lacquer-coated scorpions as curios, but you wave them off. Elephant hairs cling to your work robe, tiny black threads whispering secrets of savanna giants. You pocket 3 strands, future repairs for when the divine inevitably frays. Moot's temple bells sound their bronze shivers, scattering pigeons into indigo twilight. Bastet curls around cooling crucibles, her purr syncopating with the apprentice's snores. Somewhere beyond the workshop, the scent of rain-blessed acacias promises tomorrow's toil smells sweeter. The king's treasurer arrives at high noon, shadowless light rendering his linen robe blinding white. His pouch hits your workbench heavier than ethics, 8 identical gold rings spilling like nervous ticks. You lift your loupe, copper-framed glass worn smooth by 3 generations of suspicion. First rings gilding peels like sunburnt skin, revealing gray metal beneath. Tin core you announce, gently as treasurer Pazer's jaw pulses. Nile forgers mix tin with lead, imitating royal Electrum's weight, yet tin screeches when filed. You demonstrate the raspy wine-piercing bastets nap atop a clay ingot stack. 1 ring bears authentic hieroglyphs, beloved of Hathor, but stamped too deep for hand chiseling. Roman press technology, crude mimicry of Kushite craftsmanship. You glance up Alexandrian workshop or Memphis backstreets. Pazer's silence confirms both nations now insult your king. Historians still argue whether Nubian gold fueled Mediterranean economies or merely teased their greed. The treasurer's trembling hand retrieves evidence, drop by damning drop. Elephant hair clings to his wrist, leftover from yesterday's divine necklace hustle. Second ring feels warm, telltale residue of quicksilver gilding, a Persian technique involving mercury baths. Deadly for the gullible noble who licks his jewelry clean. Cleopatra supposedly died testing fake pearls in vinegar, you mutter, though experts think Nile forgers lacked such dramatic flair. Tin core deception wasn't uncommon, but 4 rings share identical flaw bubbles beneath their gilt. Mass production, an insult to Amenhotep himself. You imagine lazy smelters skimming gold, replacing weight with cheaper melt. Ancient account tablets mention forgers using rendered animal fat in clay molds, creating telltale pores like these. Pazer leans closer, his myrrh perfume battling workshop sweat. Consignment from the Mara caravan. You ask, already knowing. He nods, a downward jerk that could snap ibis bones. Some merchant families specialize in currency adjustments, trusting desert graves to hide their tracks. Whip-scarred apprentices pause polishing, sensing justice's pendulum swing. You pocket one fake, future teaching tool as Pazer scoops the rest into his pouch. No written reports. The river handles such accountability. Nile crocodiles grow fat on deceivers, their bellies glittering with poorly alloyed sins. 3 caravans moon, unmolested Pazer declares, voice tighter than a bowstring. Generous grace period if the forgers flee beyond the 3rd cataract tonight. Bastet stretches, jumping down to weave between Pazer's ankles her tail, flicking his sandals like a metronome, counting remaining breaths. Outside, heat shimmers distort ostrich herders driving flocks to muddy shorelines. Tin melts at lower temperatures than integrity. You muse, stoking the forge to purify today's scrap. The apprentice flinches at your sudden laughter, not grasping how excellently the crocodiles will dine. Thoth's sacred ibises land on the workshop roof, stealing Bastet's leftover fish heads. Their beaks clatter like dropped chisels, nature's percussion section, underscoring your verdict. Somewhere downriver, merchant sons tighten saddle straps, unknowingly racing Sobek's wrath to impassable rapids. Passar departs, a white ghost, swallowed by dust devils swirling near the market. Your loop still reveals truths, mineral flaws in flawless emeralds, pomegranate stains on the Pharaoh's tax ledger. Truth's weight never lightens, even when submerged. You dunk the loop in vinegar, cloudy film dissolving, restoring clarity for tomorrow's deceptions. Dust motes swirl where vinegar drips from your loop, each particle catching morning light like flawed topaz. Fingers brush your work cushion's torn corner, frayed flax threads, betraying years of impatient stabs. The stuffing spills, itchy palm fibers, and something sharp pricks your thumb. You dig deeper, past goat hair padding, until 3 pebbles tumble onto etched bronze. Garnets deep red as unbulled wine, still dusty from whichever Kushite princess hid them. Royal women often sewed jewels into furniture, emergency bribes during palace coups. Historians still argue whether Queen Ameneter's famed collar was tribute or taxes avoided through creative upholstery. Master, your apprentice hovers, clutching her first solo ring, a shaky copper band mimicking a serpent's coils. Sweat blurs the solder line, typical beginner's wobble. No sun god etched these, you tease, wiping a garnet clean with your sleeve. The stone winks, blood bright, against Nile-dyed linen. Beneath your bench, Bastet's tail twitches, sensing treasure, even in her fish stupor. Garnets reached Kush via Eritrean traders, bartered for Nubian gold, since, before the pyramids scratched the sky, you flatten a prong setting, pressing the smallest gem into place. Hold this, you command, guiding the girl's trembling fingers. Her ring transforms, serpents eye now ablaze, craftsmanship flaws masked by the gem's savage gleam. Cushion hoards only grow when workshops prosper. You explain, quoting your grandfather's favorite work song. Grape-sized garnets often decorated Meraetic horse bridles. Archaeologists even found some stitched into royal saddle pads. Water, she stammers, throat tight with emotion, as Bastet finally notices the stones. The cat bats one across the floor, an offering to her shadow play. You laugh, pocketing the remaining two, their weight promising future benevolence. Never sell a secret's first fruits, you advise, watching pride straighten the girl's spine. The apprentice's garnetide serpent still warms your palm copper tail, coiled in victory. When pounding rattles the workshop door, royal guards stand armored in leather scale, bronze spears, dripping noon sweat onto the threshold. Behind them, hunched beneath a papyrus scroll taller than himself, Pharaoh, the royal architect, sweats fear. Read, he croaks, thrusting frayed blueprints at your chest. The scroll unfurls, crumbling at the edges, revealing a domed treasury chamber for new temple additions. Pharaoh Taharka's cartouche glows fresh ink, demanding completion before next flood season. A charcoal notation screams disaster. Interior pillars, spaced 2 finger widths too narrow. The sacred bulls of Amun, cast in pure gold, will never squeeze through. You thumb the architect's frantic calculations, memorizing ratios used since Queen Shanaktakito's reign. Kushite architects once aligned whole cities with Orion's belt, using nothing but knotted ropes and star charts. This dome, though reeks of rushed vanity, a political project for visiting Theban priests. Storm buried the measuring sand, you ask, already knowing the answer. Pharaoh moans, eyes darting like cornered mice. They'll revoke my chisel license, maybe my tongue. Gold statues can't shrink, but their casings must. You riffle through ingots, testing malleability against hieratic script's demands. Royal goldsmiths often stretched sacred sheets, thin as onion skin, when pharaohs demanded impossible monuments. Historians still argue whether the bent pyramid's slope changed due to math errors, or a king's deathbed vanity. Breathe, you mutter more to yourself, as Bastet sniffs Pharaoh's sandals. The architect reeks of panic sweat and fermented honey beer, his breakfast choice, clearly unwise. Guards shift impatiently, spear butts grinding Nile mud into your floor. One flashes a folded papyrus, Pharaoh's punishment decree already inked, and awaiting only the crime's confirmation. Fire reeds hiss under the crucible, gold melting slower than dignity. Measurement cords used to stretch during sudden rains. You recall warping whole temple layouts by sunrise. Your grandfather told tales of bribing astronomers to blame Sirius for flawed foundation lines. 4 days, you declare, staring at the trembling architect. Double rations for my furnace tenders, and one Nubian ebony measuring rod. Thiraud nods, too terrified to haggle, as molten gold bubbles like a volcano's throat. You pour it thinner than ever, sheets glowing like captured sunlight. Sacred bull statues require 3 layers, mythic muscles hinted through hammered textures. Tonight, each strike risks tearing the metal, rendering weeks of work as useless as a scribe's broken stylus. Bastet bats a fallen gold curl under your bench, preferring play over politics. You hammer ridges deeper, masking the stretched metal where bovine haunches should bulge. Trade secrets bubble up. How Libyan mercenaries once demanded thinner gold breastplates for speed over safety. They died gleaming, but dead. The statues, at least, won't face arrows. At dawn, your fingers bleed from chasing imperfections. Calluses split like overripe figs. Thiraud returns sallow, but sober, tracing the gold sheets with a carpenter's trembling chalk. The priests demand bull testicles detailed. He whispers, as if the gods might overhear. You almost laugh, except his neck already bears rope-burned shadows from yesterday's near strangling. Pliers shape delicate gold wires, anatomy sacrificed to durability. Real bulls lose parts to flies in this heat. Why not divine ones? Archaeologists once found a Meroitic bull idol with emerald-tipped horns, hidden inside a termite mound for safekeeping. You add copper under layers to stiffen crucial joints, while hiding the cheat beneath ceremonial enamel. Thiraud departs blueprints re-rolled with forced confidence guards, now his reluctant escorts. The workshop exhales, crucibles cooling under ash blankets. Bastet drops her pilfered gold scrap, unimpressed by its lack of fish scent. You pour sour palm wine, counting how many integrity corners were cut today. 2, maybe 3, depending how closely priests inspect bull nostrils. Politics. You toast to your apprentice, already snoring on a mallet cushion. Gold thickens around power, thins around truth. Tomorrow will bring complaints or silence, depending on whether Theban envoys notice stretched smiles on divine bovine faces. Either way, the architect keeps his tongue, and you keep Pharaoh's favor. For now, sleep scratches at your eyelids, carrying dreams of infinitely expanding temple corridors. Fatigued fingers fumble with the palm wine jug, last dregs clinging to clay like stubborn river snails. Bastet circles your ankles, fur brushing the day's sweat and indignity from your skin. Moonlight floods the workshop, slivering through reed screens, painting tools with ghostly silver. Earlier failures haunt benches. The stretched bull haunches Thiraud's sweaty desperation, now softened by night's mercy. You slump onto a cedar stool, its legs groaning like an old scribe's knees. Bastet leaps, sudden, onto the work table. Her paw bats a golden wire left over from today's frantic repairs. The coil glints liquid moonlight, made solid, rolling toward the edge. You lunge too slow as wire clatters onto packed earth. Bastet pounces, tail high, as a victory standard. Egyptian, cats served as pest control, guarding grain stores from desert rats. Yet here Bastet guards against dullness. Myths claim felines steal gold trinkets for Bast herself, gifts to outshine the moon's dull shine. Your thief prances, wire clamped in her jaw like a hunter's prize. It trails behind her, etching serpentine paths in dust. You rise, joints popping like old forge coals, to pursue your studio spirit. Bastet darts past cooling crucibles, shadow merging with deeper shadows. Golden ribbon winks between her teeth, a game. Only she knows rules too. Historians still argue whether temple cats received formal jewelry training or just enjoyed chaos. Tonight, Bastet seems schooled by Anubis himself. The wire snags on a chisel rack, jingling like distant sistrums. Bastet tugs, ears flattening, shoulders dropping into predator's crouch. Shesmu, god of oil presses, would admire her stubbornness. You crouch, palms open, whispering nonsense. Even apprentices would mock. Drop the Pharaoh's tax girl, and I'll find you a fat mouse. She bolts, wire scattering bronze scrap across the floor. Bastet flows up date palm shelves, a fuzzy storm scaling your spice reserves. Cinnamon sticks rain down, scenting the chase, with memory of monsoon markets. You catch the wire, just as her tail flicks a jar of lapis powder. Blue drifts, like Nile flood sediments, coating everything with speckled night sky. Mercifully, the precious spices sit higher, secured after last flood season's ant invasion. Bastet halts, perched atop a copper ingot stack, wire abandoned for new amusement. Moon rays halo her fur black as bitumen, eyes sharper than obsidian blades. Below, her golden prize gleams, waist-high, atop a limestone block. You reclaim the wire, half expecting divine punishment. But Bastet only licks a paw. Temple records mention cats stealing holy amulets during rituals, forcing priests into undignified chases. Some scholars say it proves feline divinity. Others say priests needed better shelves. You twist the wire into a loose spiral, a toy sacrifice for your tiny overlord. Bastet descends, silent, as shadows slipping from walls, and bats the golden coil. It rolls toward the moonlit courtyard, where Nile breezes carry distant hyena laughs. She pursues, tail quivering, world reduced to shimmer and movement. Sand drifts over your toes, cool and gritty, counterpoint to the day's forge heat. Granite flagstones feel smooth beneath bare feet, polished by generations of pacing craftsmen. Bastet's claws click like miniature chisels as she corners the wire near rain jars. Ceramic cools your palm when you lean down, the chase having drained the wine's lethargy. Bastet pauses, chest heaving, gaze locking onto something beyond your shoulder. A gecko clings to the wall, throat pulsing like molten emerald. Bastet freezes, wire forgotten, every muscle coiled for death's spring. Gold glimmers, unnoticed, near her left paw. The moon watches, a spectator tightening celestial reins. Geckos were considered lucky in Kush, their chirps interpreting gossip from the underworld. Your thief leaps, but the lizard darts into a crack, leaving Bastet nose to stone, with only her reflection. She hissed, a sound usually reserved for mongrels and dishonest traders. You pocket the wire, now warmed by her mischief, and scoop her into the crook of your arm. She squirms, then settles, a furnace against the cooling night. You cost me 3 measures of gold since winter, you murmur, scratching the sweet spot behind her ears. Dunes of Anubis, even tax collectors take less. Bastet purrs, the vibration softening the day's harsh edges. Beyond the workshop, city guards chant fourth watch songs, their cadence older than Mara's walls. The wire will need straightening tomorrow, another task for weary hands. Stars wheel toward dawn ancestors' campfires in endless black. Bastet's breaths deepen, sleep conquering even tiny goddesses. You lay her on rags behind the forge, where residual heat rivals noontime stones. Her paws twitch, dreaming of gilded mice and slow geckos. Stealing back, the wire feels cruel now, like robbing Ra's solar bark. Let it remain your silent thanks for companionship in the long loneliness of gold. Sunrise will reveal the toll, bent metal, blue powder smudges, another mess needing order. Yet Bastet curls tighter, safe content, a drop of panther darkness in the workshop's sterile gleam. The wire can wait, moon-soaked and touched by divinity, until apprentices stir with the ibis dawn chorus. Back muscles scream rebellion as sunlight claws through reed screens, another dawn cursed by camels. Yesterday's ride to the northern market left your thighs raw saddle leather, grinding like pumice on wet papyrus. You fumble for barley salve, 3 fingers thick. Its onions stink, overpowering even workshop charcoal. Bastet wrinkles her nose, retreating to higher ground, judging from atop a half-finished ingot mold. Numidian traders brought those desert monsters, claiming swift as sandstorms, while pocketing extra coin for trained dromedaries. Their mounts chewed through 3 hemp ropes, burped sour grass clumps onto your best anvil, and bit the tax collector's son. Camels revolutionized Saharan trade routes, all while smelling like fermented regrets left in August sun. Your left heel hosts an angry blister, swollen taut, a miniature moon crater filled with pain. Desert sun punished the return journey your thighs, gripping saddle straps like a drowning sailor clutches driftwood. Stiff hides chafed through linen, each lurch carving canyons into skin. Traders drank palm wine, laughing, while you counted vultures circling overhead. Ancient Kushite riders stuffed saddle gaps with palm fiber, but you ran out near the Croton Grove. Historians argue whether Nubians first domesticated camels or just inherited Egypt's rejected rejects. Salve stings worse than scorpion venom, necessity's cruel joke. Across the workshop, incense beads glimmer, discarded experiments from Moot's temple commission. Memory strikes like a smith's hammer, Persian saddle blankets woven with turquoise threads to guard noble buttocks. You hobble, legs protesting, to grab dried river grass and discarded hide strips. Bastet watches, tail flicking, as you braid beads into a protective sleeve. Perfume resins nestle between reeds, cinnamon sticks, woven tight as Nile delta roots. Each bead carries desert honey's glow, amber ruby, sap green. Your blister pulses approval or vengeance as you stitch layers into pliable armor. Midday brings the Numidians back, demanding compensation for spooked camels. Their leader spots your prototype, drying on a cedar rack, stained with beet juice for flair. He sniffs, greed glazing his eyes, as camels bellow outside. Dune lice infest our mount's saddles. He lies, fingers tracing your beadwork. 20 pieces finished by next moon, and we void your debt. You counter, lips tight, feeling the blister throb beneath its bandage. 50 sets, 1 silver coin per, and throw in saddle repair lessons. His laughter shakes ibis feathers loose from the roof, but he nods, palms open to the sun god. Desert traders always negotiate, even with death, though luckily your stakes stay lower. Work consumes daylight, beads clicking like anxious teeth. Bastet bats loose resins into corners, hunting phantom crickets. Blisters birthed the mirror, glassblowers claim, when a Phoenician stepped on molten sand. Your apprenticeship taught that injuries whisper solutions if you hiss quietly enough to hear them. Night falls as you finish the 7th strap, fingers numb, incense perfuming the sweat-heavy air. Numidians will leave at dawn, their camels fatter and ruder than ever. Bastet curls on your sandals, a warm weight on aching feet as you oil the final stitches. 5 apprentices snore by the cold forge, dreaming of frictionless saddles and wealth born from raw skin. Trade routes sprawl ahead, your beadwork cushioning 1,000 desert miles. Blisters fade, ideas remain, and irritation gilds itself into coin under the watchful moon. Dawn paints your eyelids gold, the kind that won't flake off, as Bastet's purr rumbles against clay tablets. She needs soft Nile mud left overnight, your thumbprint hardening where tomorrow meets yesterday. Funerary masks supposedly anchor wandering souls. Egyptian priests swore by them, though yours keeps evolving in design. Charcoal scratches papyrus, nostrils round as oasis wells, stylized lips parted in eternal greeting. War left one ear ragged lion's bite souvenir, so the sketch omits that detail. Vanity, even for the dead, now your sparing descendants, your uglier truths. Gold leaf plans shimmer false promises. Tomorrow's worries first demand attention. Cool wax rolls beneath your fingers, beeswax from last harvest, as you shape brow ridges. A crooked nose looks noble in profile, lifetime's flaws sanded down to art. Historians still argue whether commoners received full masks or just painted linen shrouds. Pollen drifts through window slits, gilding dust motes, pretend immortality floating in sunbeams. Bastet bats at your quill turning Anubis jackal, ears into cat triangles. Let future scholars ponder that heresy. Your real ears tense at footsteps, apprentice returning with ochre pigments. He freezes, seeing the death draft, then backs out silent as tomb robbers. Clay remembers colder now, working on your own face, mixing Nile silt with rebirth myths. Memphis-trained craftsmen boasted of funeral masks with hinged jaws, so souls could feast in paradise. You doubt Amit the Devourer respects mechanics. Teeth come last in the sketch. Sunlight warms the courtyard outside, life stubbornly interrupting your death plans. Brown fingers trace cheekbones. Clay doesn't blush. They'll bronze well enough someday. Shelves cradle ancestor masks. Father's nose slightly off-center. Sister's quartz tears hardened forever. Generations stare as you cheat tradition, carving dimples never earned in life. Moonlight will arrive soon, etching today's work into Syrian myrrh's shadowed curves, teasing another dawn's labor. Moonlight traces the rim of Syrian myrrh jars, thick resin weeping golden tears down dusty ceramic. You wipe condensation, realizing dawn plans must include selling this before summer heat sours it. Historians still argue whether Mares traders paid palm wine or ostrich plumes for foreign spices. Ledgers burned long ago. Bastet rubs against a jar her tail, collecting sticky divinity, soon licked clean in secret midnight grooming. Embers whisper tales beneath cooled ashes, cedar's ghost mingling with Electrum ingots, stacked like dull bricks. 73 days until Pharaoh's tribute. Yet tonight belongs to inventory scrolls and stiff shoulders. Kushite account keepers invented debellentry ledger centuries before Venice, a fact smug traders whisper during Nile feasts. Your stylus hesitates. Did the copper merchant deliver 18 ingots? Or 20, his thumb smudging tally marks. Myrrh's scent thickens. It clings to roof beams, infusing even the stale workshop bread. Outside, an ibis shrieks, bony legs disturbing moonlit irrigation ditches. Cool air raises goose flesh. Tomorrow's first task might be repairing that cracked north window. The forge exhales its final warmth, metal dreaming of hammers, yet unborn resting before sunrise's demands. Jars clink as you shift them. Syrian craftsmen press thumbprints into wet clay like forgotten signatures. Scholars debate if these swirls encoded trade routes or simply distracted potters doodling in boredom. 3 jars bear hairline cracks. You mark them for temple donations. Gods favor generosity over waste. Bastet leaps, knocking over a bronze scale, its clatter echoing like dropped armor down palace stairs. Memories surface, Nubian miners singing as they descended into turquoise pits, flutes softening sandstones, suffocating gloom. Their songs borrowed melodies from Babylonian star charts, notes older than pyramids. You hum a fragment, the one about Isis mourning Osiris, as wax seals reseal myrrh's escaping sweetness. Fingers brush against the apprentice's failed lion pendant, hidden beneath linen scraps, its lopsided mane still poignant. Maybe tomorrow you'll teach him filigree vines to hide the jagged solder line. Tools rest in shadowed niches, tongs crossed like sleeping soldiers, chisels nested in date palm fibers. Even hammers deserve peace after shaping crowns. Moonlight bleaches color from everything. Lapis lazuli beads become mere gray pebbles. Garnets lose their bloody wink. One jar's hieroglyphs, flair silver, beloved of Hathor, stamped above a merchant's crude scarab doodle. Lightheadedness hits. You forgot dinner again. Sister's fish, still wrapped in reed paper. Distant drums murmur from Mut's temple, priests measuring night into sacred portions, timekeeping for restless gods. Bastet stares at a gecko climbing the wall, predator patience thrumming in her twitching tail. Historians adore debating lunar rituals, forgetting common folk just used moons to know when taxes came due. Shadows stretch long as Nile crocodiles as you extinguish the last oil lamp's hissing flame. Workshops of Memphis spread ash on doorsteps each dusk to detect sneaky thieves before dawn, a trick your studio never adopted. Cool floors soothe bare feet, stone remembering yesterday's lingering warmth, even as stars assert dominion. 3 scrolls wait, unread royal edicts, probably demands for cheaper ring commissions involving copper dilution. You swallow a date, its sweetness cloying without cheese to balance it, then spit the pit into a clay bowl. Ants will claim it come sunrise, tiny laborers hauling their golden burden back to sandy palaces. Bastet chases a moth, her leaps clumsy with sleepiness, a huntress dreaming between pounces. The forge's faint glow breathes, each ember pulsating with memories of molten metals, the heart's steady rhythm winding down. Tomorrow will bring Numidian traders clamoring for incense-beaded camel straps, your saddle blister inspiration, now famed in desert caravans. But tonight, gold rests, undemanding, forgiving your sins of soldered imperfections and uneven hammer blows. Myrrh threads through dreams, even as waking ebbs, visions of resin rivers, carrying cedar ships toward unknown delta mouths. Fingers relax, calluses softened by night cream of honey and tamarind, sister's recipe for achy joints. Far off, the tax collector's wife giggles at some lover's joke, a sound brighter than stolen turquoise. Darkness cradles the workshop now, tools resting, metals cooling, spirits retreating to twilight realms beyond human noise. Your forehead presses against stored bronze sheets, cool as winter Nile water, forever waiting for the sculptor's decisive strike. Tomorrow's first rays will find you here again, flame rekindled jars reopened, myrrh's ancient perfume greeting another sun-charged day. Bastet curls on your cloak, a warm weight on your lap, as moonlit hieroglyphs rewrite themselves across silent walls. Final thoughts blur boundary, dissolving between dreaming and prayer, before sleep claims another servant to gold's eternal demands. The jars stand sentinel, their dark contents breathing slow, keeping secrets until dawn's inspection calls all back to labor and light. Moonlight traces the rim of Syrian myrrh jars, thick resin dripping like gold tears down dusty clay. You wipe sticky fingers. Dawn will demand selling these before summer heat spoils their perfume. Some say Mara's traders paid with ostrich plumes for such spices, stories lost when flames ate the ledgers long ago. Bastet brushes against a jar, her fur catching sacred resin groomed away in midnight's privacy before anyone notices. The forge exhales warmth beneath cooling ashes, cedar's ghost tangled with stacks of dull gold bars. 73 suns until Pharaoh's payment. But tonight belongs to tired arms and scrolls, heavy with numbers. Your stylus hovers. Did Tam's copper delivery hold 18 bars or 20? His thumbprint smearing truth into shadows. Myrrh's scent hangs thick, seeping into roof beams, even tainting yesterday's leftover bread. Outside, a night heron croaks, knobby legs rippling moonlit ditch water. Cold air pebbles your skin. Tomorrow's duty might be mending that cracked north window. Metal dreams, quiet dreams now, resting before hammers call them back to life at sunrise. Jars clink softly as you move them. Each holds a potter's thumb swirl, pressed into wet clay long ago. 3 jars show hairline cracks, marked for temple offerings. God's smile when waste becomes worship. Bastet bats at dangling scales, their clatter sharp, like dropped spears in palace halls. You hum an old tune, the one miners sang descending into rock bellies, flutes softening darkness, deep as death. Their borrowed mountain song stays, filling workshop corners, as wax seals trap Myrrh's last sighs. Fingers find your apprentice's botched lion charm, hidden beneath cloth scraps. His clumsy solder lines still charm you. Tomorrow maybe teach him ivy twists to hide rough edges. Tools sleep in shadow now, tongs folded like praying hands, files nestled in palm fiber beds. Even steel deserves rest after shaping kingdoms. Moon drinks all color, blue beads turn ashen, rubies lose fire. One jar flares silver letters, beloved of Hathor, stamped over some merchant's beetle doodle. A hollow pang reminds you, sister's fish, still wrapped by the door forgotten in inventory's fog. Far-off drums keep night's heartbeat, Moot's priests slicing darkness into holy hours. Bastet tracks a wall gecko, her tail twitching like a needling needle. Common folk counted moons just to know tax day, never caring about priestly squabbles. Shadows stretch long as river beasts, as the last lamp's sigh dies. Your bare feet welcome cool stone, still holding yesterday's warmth beneath star-chilled air. 3 scrolls wait royal words about cheaper rings, likely asking copper to dance as gold's equal. You chew a lone date, too sweet without salty cheese, spitting the pit into clay's curve. Dawn's ants will haul it home, 6-legged miners digging tiny treasures. Bastet bats at a moth, half-hearted, sleep already tugging her paws. Embers glow faintly, each pulse whispering of melted metals, gold's heartbeat growing slow and steady. Numidian traders will come shouting for incense straps at dawn. But now, the quiet forgives crooked engravings, forgets uneven blows. Myrrh tangles with dreams, river visions, carrying resin boats toward foreign shores. Fingers soften, rubbed with honey cream, sisters cure for joints cracked from labor. Somewhere, the taxman's wife laughs, a crystal sound piercing night's velvet. Darkness cradles the studio, tools sleeping, metals cooling, souls drifting, where hammer songs can't reach. Your brow touches bronze sheets, stored in the corner, cool as deep river water, waiting for hands to wake them. Dawn will find you here, fires rekindled, jars unsealed, sunrise greeting myrrh's thousand-year breath. Bastet sinks onto your lap, a warm weight, as moon letters climb walls in secret patterns. Thoughts blur, dreams weaving with prayers, before sleep takes another gold servant into forgiving arms. The jars stand watch, breathing darkness slow, keeping secrets safe in silence. Until light returns, all whispers cease.